Did we unvote it?
Not that I know of.
I didn't see that. Yeah, but what's the step to actually get it on? We have to execute the warrant. Didn't we do that?
Yes, you haven't signed it yet. It's in the pile with papers to sign, but
Okay.
you did approve it.
I didn't
Penny, where are you?
see that.
Oh, I need an invitation. Or the numbers.
Oh, it's on the bottom of the agenda.
Okay.
I can send you an invitation quickly though, if you'd rather.
That one faster than typing on.
Except I don't think I can go into Zoom because you've got it going.
All right.
I must be missing stuff.
What do you need, John?
Well, is that the signed municipal officers return notices posted for public hearing? That's right. Let's see. This is the warrant.
No, it's not the warrant. The warrant's in the packet we just signed because you guys approved it last week.
Oh,
Last
okay,
time, no one ever-
that's
No
why.
one ever signed it.
Okay, that's right. So we can sign that right now.
Yep.
That's why I get confused. We already voted.
Yes, but then it was at the end of the meeting that nobody signed it. So we can do that right now.
That's how it gets on the ballot.
Yes.
In answer to Walker's question.
And actually, nobody called me and asked if they had anything different on our ballot.
Nobody followed up?
I don't know who did, I don't know who did the article, but they didn't call and ask if Shell Thompson had anything.
I didn't see if
Because
because Steve
we-
or not.
Right.
It said in the article, there was nothing, no local things or something like that on the South Thompson.
Huh?
So, and is that Steve Beth's article?
I didn't see the
Well,
article.
Can you,
Just
can you
gonna
make
find
a
that out.
note and
Yep.
maybe call him and correct him and send him or back or whatever?
I can.
Gary?
Hey, how are you?
Good. Are you ready? All right.
My internet,
The bylaw.
I'm sure there's a reason, but we never do anything about it.
Oh, thank you. There we go.
Weird because we almost always not practice on meetings. South Thomasville will vote in person, blah, 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 blah. The town has only state items on the ballot, no town.
Huh. Good, no one talked to me. I mean,
Nobody talk to me.
I think Bill knows.
Well,
We'll correct it.
they'll offer it for you.
Yep.
Oh, you can. You want to be through that?
All right, I'm the only one leaving. So if I right click
To make this up the house?
or more, here we go. Yes. Okay.
So I think Gabby, I can't remember her last name, is gonna zoom in,
Okay,
and
Andrew
Andrew
and Justin.
and Ann Justin.
Okay. all right.
Penny, could you tell me, not during the public hearing, but after the public hearing, when Andrew's doing things, because I can't see.
I will, I'll let you know.
He said he would come in about 6.
Yeah. Oh, we gotta do the public hearing
Yeah, I
first.
told him we had I told him they were, shouldn't take too long. Yeah. we did.
Dancing report, very interesting.
Andrew. In the ladies' room.
The worst sight in all day.
It's not worse.
I'll read that.
Probably should send that to Theo. Too.
Well, that's why when we got to that, I was gonna add that correspondence and ask if he felt it's appropriate for them to speak with John and maybe see what he needs to help investigate that.
He kind of wanted to meet with the board,
This one? Oh, didn't know that.
yeah, and Terry would also like to, you know,
Okay, that's fine. And we could also ask, so we can put it on the next meeting.
Yep.
So, when we get to it.
Yep.
Was that in his transmittal?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had it written on my notes to say it when we got.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock. I'm gonna call this meeting to order. Again, I would ask that folks don't speak when we're having the meeting. Excuse me. I would ask that folks don't speak during the meeting because the computer struggles to clarify who's speaking. So it wants to pick up people in the audience or not the main speaker. Okay. So the first item of business, the public hearing regarding adoption of the 2021-2022 general assistance ordinances of appendices A through H. These appendices, which list the maximum amounts for several different general assistance functions or expenditures, will become effective October 1st through September 30th. This is something that we have to go through as a matter of law, but it really is not particularly a big deal here. We have maybe 1 or 2 GA cases a year. So Is there any public comment regarding the proposed general assistance maximum appendices A through H? Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Second public hearing, local option vote for the sale of beer, wine, and spirits on Sunday. In 1975, the town voted yes on premises consumption of malt liquor on Sunday. The yes vote on the referendum question will allow liquor of all types of consumed on premises on Sunday. So basically, the state divvies up the way it licenses the sale of liquor, and the only category that the town of South Thomaston has not approved is the sale of liquor to be consumed on premises on licensed establishments on Sunday. So the board has already voted to send this to the voters on November 2nd. It is by referendum, in other words, at the polls here. And the question is, shall this municipality authorize the state to issue licenses for the sale of liquor to be consumed on the premises of licensed establishments on Sunday? And it's a simple yes or no vote. Is there any comment from the public? Again, this is something that we are legally required to hold this public hearing. No comments? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
John, I don't know if for the general assistance amendments, you guys need to take a vote because you didn't sign this, so I can send it to the state.
Okay, we can do that. Why don't we add that to the agenda right now and just get it done with so we don't forget it?
Okay, thank you.
Is there a motion to that effect?
Second.
All those in favor of adopting the proposed general assistance appendices A through H for the period October 1 to September 30th? I hope that's what you're going to move in. All those in favor? Yes. Okay, thank you, Chair. Okay. Adjustments to the agenda. I understand that the fire chief wants to add an agenda item regarding fire truck prices. I don't see him here. Oh, that's right. You said he's on a call, right? Yeah, but he did email, so we can add that. We also had several pieces of correspondence that came in after the packet came in. So I'd like to take those up at under correspondence. I don't think we need to list them at this point, but if there's no objection. Okay, I'm also, if there's no objection, going to make a few adjustments in terms of the order that we take up items. Andrew Hedrich from Gartley and Dorsey is with us to help us navigate next steps with the island project. And since we're paying him, we're gonna, if there's no objection, I'm gonna take him up next. So Andrew, you available? Can you hear me?
I am, yes. Can you hear me?
We can. Everybody hear Andrew? Okay. So Andrew, I guess I should announce that we received our permit for the Island Road project from the Department of Environmental Protection.
Yes, that's correct. So right now, we're still waiting on the permit to be finalized by the Army Corps. But we have heard from them as recently as Monday. And it looks like they're just finalizing the last pieces to issue that permit. So they didn't have any major questions, just pretty minor stuff to kind of finalize that.
Okay. And I'm not an expert at reviewing those, but I didn't see anything in there that was unexpected. Would you agree with that assessment, or?
Absolutely. In fact, there was no modifications to our plans that were submitted to the department for review. So they approved it as we submitted it.
Okay. So I guess then I'd like to talk about next steps. I had in my mind two things we need to do. One is we were holding off on the temporary construction easements as well as the permanent easement until the plans were finalized. Are we ready to go on that now?
Absolutely. I think those are your next steps would be to finalize those easements now that we know there won't be any substantial changes, to get that process started, and then kind of proceed with having us finalize the plans and put together the project manual that would be required to send this project out to bid.
Okay, so that was my next item, was the bid process. A timeline on that? Are you still looking at a November, December issue?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely reasonable, November, December issue, and I think we can refine the bid dates, meaning when we want them back and all that, we can kind of refine that as we go. But again, I advise to keep a construction window open, and hopefully we could stretch this as late as having construction completed the fall of next year.
Okay, and my understanding was that we were hoping to get the bids back before the end of the year because our grantor has indicated that if we're not going to proceed with actual construction, we're just going to get to this point where we're shovel ready. They need to know that, or would like to know that by the end of the year so they can de-obligate whatever balance we have and obligate it elsewhere. So is that still in your thinking timeline?
Yeah, it's quick. Quite honestly, that's going to push us a little bit, but I think we can make that happen. The plans are pretty far along. The only hang up I potentially see is what I would like to do is finalize the plans, finalize the project manual, provide that to the town for one quick review. And as long as the town's comfortable with everything we prepare and all the notes are on there that they've requested, then we could send that out to the contractor. But the contractor gets to review that bid for 3 weeks. So kind of looking at the holidays and looking backwards from there, and with New Year's and Christmas in there, we'd be targeting somewhere the week before Christmas to have those the bids back. So that would fall on having everything ready to go by Thanksgiving, more or less, so we can get that out to the contractors. But we can have something to you guys probably by the end of this month, but it just wouldn't give you much of a time to review it and look at it thoroughly, but it would give you probably a week or 2 weeks at most.
Well, I just want to make sure I'm correct on that. Terry is the one who had the conversation with the folks at Northern Board. There's nothing has changed in that regard. They're still, okay. Well, that brings me to the final question that I have before I open it up to Jeff and Walter. You were going to look at some possible cost reductions to close this budget shortfall. In my experience in the past, that we're a lot better off if we try to bid alternates at cost reduction in the original bid, as opposed to negotiating them after the fact when we're sort of over a barrel. I guess I'm looking for your thoughts on that last issue, as well as have you been successful at identifying any potential cost reduction?
Yeah, prior to the one potential cost reduction that I did come up with prior to finalizing the plans to go off for permitting is I was able to reduce a bit of the riprap that we're proposing along the edge of the roads. We substituted that for an Excelsior blanket, so it'll be more of a vegetative armament in the areas that weren't prone to receive wave action and tidal action. So we were able to do that, so that should save on the cost. We don't have a defined number that might save for cost reductions, but anytime we submit a bid and put a bid packet out, we also request unit prices from the contractor. So not only will we get a price to do the project, we'll have unit prices for everything that's on the project so that we can use those numbers to adjust and modify the contract as needed to come up with a budget to meet the budget constraints.
So at this point, then, you're not planning on bidding any alternates that would potentially reduce the cost?
There's nothing that I can see, quite honestly, to kind of be able to pick off the top. So it really is, it's an all or nothing thing. I think we bid the project, with the 2 phases, both sections of the ends of the road, if you will, both the west and east section. I think we run separate numbers for those sections and then ask for unit prices for each of those sections. And then from there, then we can kind of look at those numbers that come back and see if we can make some adjustments. And contractors are really good at this. Oftentimes we like to look at whoever the low bidder is, and then we can kind of work with them and see what they have for suggestions on cost saving potential. They're the ones actually going to construct this, and they can think of things that maybe we didn't in the design process that we can kind of work with them on and come up with ideas on how to save money. And that all happens before you guys would sign a contract with a contractor, just as long as you kind of select the one you want to work with on the good faith that we're going to proceed with them, as long as you can get the contract negotiations where they need to be. So it's kind of a process we can go through, and it's a step-by-step process, but oftentimes I find it the best to work directly with a contractor.
Okay, welcome, Jeff.
Nope, I'm good. Is the Corps of Engineers application materially different from the one that went to the the resource protection guys?
Not really. Honestly, we send them the same application, and we just use the DEP, I'm sorry, the Army Corps form that goes along with it. So it's the same exact thing, same information. In fact, the only questions they had was they wanted email address updates, and we didn't include Terry's last name on the application as the point of contact at the town. So that was the only things they had for us, quite honestly.
I have one final question. It's really not about the project itself, but getting quite a few comments about the pavement and the deteriorating condition of the pavement on Island Road in general. And I believe that was, I don't believe, I know in the road commissioner's mind, that was the next road on our list. Would there be any reason in your mind why we couldn't pave the road next summer from the bridge out? From the far side of the bridge out?
No, definitely not. I think they're independent of this project, and we wouldn't be carrying all that construction traffic over that. So I wouldn't be worried so much about that, quite honestly. So you could pave from that bridge out.
Yeah, and then of course, a fairly significant portion of the road will be repaved as a part of the contract. Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one question. The one thing that may help with the bidding process, and we can see what their final deadlines are, but if sliding that deadline to say the middle of January would help out, I think, as far as getting prices back. It would avoid those holiday crunches, and sometimes you get contractors rushing in between there trying to fit that in. So that would be my recommendation. I think we can make it all happen if you want it before the Christmas time. But ideally, I think you would target probably the second or third week of January, so it doesn't get lost in that holiday shuffle, if you will, now that we're at this point in the year.
Well, it's not us that's driving that date, though.
I understand that. Yep. No, if that's a firm date is the end of the year, we'll make it happen.
Well,
Right.
They'll have a fiscal year close on December 31st, which is probably what's driving this.
But I also think if we're really gonna go forward with it, then it's not as well.
We won't know until we get the bid.
No, it's
We're in
fair.
the catch-22.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we have, if there's no objection, we'll ask Terry to double check and explain the situation again. Have you got a ballpark number, just a rough order of magnitude number on how much savings the riprap change might? I mean, is it,
I haven't specifically looked at that. Quite honestly, I didn't measure the quantity that we would save. I do know that we saved as much as we could. And again, it's such an insignificant number on a project like this that you can see the prices swing one way or the other. So it's not going to make a bottom line change. That's why I wouldn't recommend using those adjustments in your final budget here. I think we're slightly outside of budget. As we originally suggested, we tried to get it a little bit closer. I don't know what that number is, but I think the plan is you can send this out. You don't have to accept the contract, or we can work with a contractor to try to lower those prices within the town's budget at the end of the day.
so you don't anticipate it closing at least $27,000 shortfall that.
Again, I'd hate to anticipate that. That's a 5% change on the whole project, which is, it's
Yeah.
pretty insignificant at the end of the day when we're talking about estimating and speculation.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? So you, so the ball's in our court then to contact our attorney, move forward. She may contact you to make sure she has the latest and greatest and last versions and.
Yep, exactly. We need to refine the plans. We just gave her some schematic plans for the 3 abutters that it will impact. So we need to refine those plans, actually create them, put some distances on them, some bearings and distances to make them real. And then between you, the town and her, your attorney, you'll need to proceed with having those looked at and reviewed. But I think at the same time, to stay on target and task here, we need to proceed with finalizing those plans and do the project manual at the same time. So I'm really looking for the green light to kind of say, get this on your schedule, make this happen, because we're running out of fall and soon to be winter really quick, quite honestly.
Okay, so then I misunderstood. We're not ready yet to go with her. You have the next step.
Yeah, but no, those plans I can have those taken care of in, a matter of a week or so. So we can get those ready to her.
Okay, I just don't want her to go ahead and do something and then you change it a week later, so.
No. She's aware. We talked about that. So she knew she had a draft version, and once we knew something wasn't going to change, we were going to finalize that. So we can finalize that right away and get those in her hands to begin the process. But she can start reaching out to them with the preliminary ones now.
Okay. Walter?
Andrew, did you get any feedback from the abutters from the letters that you sent them?
None. We didn't receive any calls or anything from any of the abutters.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you, Andrew.
Wonderful. You're very welcome. Have a great night.
Okay.
So when they did the original estimate, oil was $50 a barrel. Futures were 75 today, in December.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna swing back. Is there any public comment for items not on the agenda?
Just wanted to follow up on a report from July 15th. We had a meeting about the notification of abutters for commercial and industrial projects. I had a planning board meeting on September 16th. We approved the Georges River Land Trust path and so forth. But at the end of the meeting, it was a short meeting, so I asked them if they would want to have any ideas about notification of abutters. They wanted to adjourn. The following week, on the 23rd, we had a workshop scheduled to address these items. There was one board member and 10 with myself, so we didn't have a quorum. There was one member of the public. There was some brief discussion about notification, just off the record. And one thing that was kind of determined, there's no blanket notification in any of the towns to notify butters in a commercial or industrial project in an approved district. So at this point, there's really been little interest, since I've tried a couple times. I mean, we'll have another planning board meeting, got one scheduled for the 21st of October. If we have any applications come in between now and then, we can put that on the agenda. Right now, I'm at kind of a standstill. I don't know any reason to pursue it. I did send an email up to the planning board to remind them all that at any time during an application process, if they want butter notifications, they can make a motion in the meeting and be voted on. So right now, there's really nothing been accomplished. I just want to bring you guys up to date on that. I know it was concerning. All right, thank you. Comment?
Yeah, my only concern is that we're consistent. And so I actually bristle at the idea of each one of them you can vote to have it or not. I think you don't have written procedures and processes, then you just don't do it.
Right.
And I think that's what we've been doing for the last 20 years.
Yes.
Is we we don't do butter notifications. And, I think until we change either the process or the ordinance, that we ought to stick to that. I think it's bad. If you vote to do it on this one and you vote not to do it on that one, that's right, somebody's gonna say something. So I think you need to be as consistent as possible in accordance with the ordinances in the state.
I said the exact same thing to the people that are at the workshop. All right, thank you.
Well, I have a totally different take. I agree completely with Jeff on the arbitrary nature of voting, but is that in your bylaws currently? That someone can make that
You
motion?
can make it a condition of the application. Come up under that section.
On that subject, I agree completely with Jeff that we should either, we shouldn't do it based on an arbitrary basis. I think that's the worst thing. We should either not do it at all or have a process. But I do think there's a lot of interest in a process. And just even the emails that I saw flying around, I think the reason there were, my sense was the reason there were only 2 planning board members there wasn't because they weren't interested. It was because of this COVID surge. And they were reluctant to meet.
Well, let's clear this up.
And again, can I finish?
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of people comment to me that we need to move into the modern world. And when we're dealing with projects of significant, I'm not talking about a deck or even a house, but a significant project that the butters need some prior notification. And I firmly agree with that. So I would like the planning board not to drop that. And if the planning board doesn't want to do it, I would personally propose that we do it with the ordinance. That's how I feel, but, which is different than Jeff. So,
Well, no, I agree with you.
well, you don't feel strongly about the notification. From what I just heard.
No, I'm in favor of defining appropriate times for notifications. And I think there are some.
Plus, there was another issue here. We really had 2 balls in the air. We had the notification and the public hearing.
Right.
There were really 2 balls that were open to look at. So, Walter, do you have?
So it seems to me that the last 20 years are somewhat irrelevant if the circumstances aren't changing. And it seems to me that there have been more of these controversial items hitting the planning board over the last 2.5 years than in the past. So I think it needs to be relooked at.
I agree. And I would urge the planning board to continue to look at that. Again, I don't think it's something that needs to be done tomorrow night, but anyways, go ahead.
Okay, just to let the public know. The agenda went out, and then we're gonna have a meeting, so apparently around, I found some emails the next morning that at 5:40, meeting starts at 6 o'clock, that some people, one person, I got a text. And the next day I read the message that they sent out the night before, that they would not attend, okay? So it wasn't like, it's like very last minute.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, and just so the public knows, that on the Rockwell project, 131, the butters were notified, and even people across the street, right? But I also got an email from the Georgia River Land Trust that wanted to remind me that they were the only butters to that project. So it kind of goes both ways. And the butters on the solar farm were also butted, received written notes.
From the town?
Yes, from the planning. So they have gone out since the new bylaws were approved in March. We're starting to do a few things like that, but it's not like a blanket letter writing for each project, notifying butters.
Yeah, and I agree with you completely. They kind of, for lack of a better word, sandbag you with 5 minutes before the meeting. So, which I thought
Maybe they'll bring it up at another meeting.
which I thought was sort of put you in a tough spot.
So you're informed, you can't really discuss it.
Right. Well, exactly.
Other than that, I'll see you at the next meeting.
Thank you. If there's no objections, I would like to, sorry, I'm having trouble seeing My agenda. Terry, can you help me here? I'm trying to find the Thorndike Cemetery item. Yeah, okay, I'd like to take that out of order. Since I can't remember your names, I'm sorry. And here for that particular item, is there an adjustment to taking that out of order? Okay. So I think we were pretty much had come up with a solution here. We had agreed to employ on a stipend basis, either one or both of the folks that are mowing and doing the work there now. And the only thing we needed was a number. I got thinking a little bit about it after. We could, if we hire one of you on the stipend, then that person would be covered by workers' comp, but the other person wouldn't. So the other person would have to volunteer. So all the pay, for lack of a better, would have to go to one or the other. Or we could hire both and split it. But the big issue was a number. And did you folks are gonna think about that? And I know Penny did a little discussion on that, so. Have you come up with any proposals or anything, or? Okay. Penny had compared some sizes of the different cemeteries, and Penny, you just throw.
So I tried to break it down by the cemeteries in order of size and the amount that we were paying to Wilson per month for 6 months. I came up with Thorndike being like $200 worth of the 2,000 that was paid out. So if we took 200 times 6 months, that'd be $1,200.
Agreeable number with you folks? Is that an agreeable number with you folks?
Yeah.
Okay.
So do we want it 600 and 600?
Well, that's the next question I was gonna ask you. Or do you? We could employ both of you, for lack of a better word, with a stipend $600 each. And then you would both be covered by workers' comp in the event you got hurt. Or we can employ one, who's ever employed would be covered by workers' comp. The other person could volunteer, but they wouldn't be covered by workers' comp if they got hurt. So to me, it's a no-brainer.
That's a good idea.
So I make a motion that we employ both of them for $600 a piece per year
As caretakers
as
of the
caretakers. for
Thorndike
the-
Cemetery.
Second, I would like to know the names.
Can you stay your, can you,
That's a Misty Roberts.
okay. And just briefly for the public and the public out there, Thorndike Cemetery is the oldest cemetery in town.
I would say.
Yeah, it's off Pleasant Beach. It has pre-revolutionary soldiers, the graves are very old, very fragile. And the modern equipment that Travis Wilson, our regular cemetery mower, really doesn't navigate well around there. And when it hits stones, the stones again are fragile. These folks have brought the property that surrounds the cemetery, and Travis Wilson is no longer mowing that, and they've been doing it on a volunteer basis. They've actually done a lot more than mowing, so they're cutting bushes and really have taken it on as a project, but and we just felt that, or Penny felt there should be some compensation for the gas and oil, wear and tear on equipment, and time. So, further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. So you'll need to get with Terry. You'll need to get with Terry, because you're gonna have to fill out IRS stuff and, blah, blah, blah. So. Okay. Sorry, for being slow, I'm just having. Is Gabby here?
Yes.
Okay, so is Amy here? Okay,
And here,
okay, so why don't we take up hiring, approving the hiring or not approving? The hiring of Gabby, so she doesn't have to hang around all night.
Gary's not like there. She is, in the EMT class or PDCC. And she'd like to come on as a driver.
Excuse me, I can't hear, sorry. Go ahead.
She would like to come on as a driver while she does takes the class and then, her class is over at the end of December. And hopefully we'll start there in the EMT. So,
So Gabby, can you hear me? Hello? Gabby?
I haven't been down here. I just thought,
just, that's what she's telling us. That's what the issue was the last time she had class.
Yeah, she's there, right?
Yeah.
and, also.
Thank you. Why don't we move down and take up N real quick? This should be,
I move to approve the minutes
oh, all
from
right.
September 7th.
Okay, we can go back up to minutes.
Second,
I'm lost.
We're going up, back up to 7.
I just couldn't see it.
I can't see it anyway. So there's a motion to, and a second to approve the minutes of, what was the date of
September 7th.
September 7th? Is there discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Let's jump down and Gabby with us now?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's jump down and take up N. This should be just a couple of seconds. When we appointed Ben Choi to the RSU 13
Brad.
board,
Brad,
Brad. It does say Brad. Sorry. I could read the B. To the RSU 13 school board at the last meeting, we made that appointment to the end of Lane's term, and actually under the law, it's to the next annual town meeting. So I would like a motion to amend that appointment to the town next annual town meeting. No, when it'll be. Should be in June. Second. That doesn't change your willingness to. Good. Okay, further discussion?
Good catch.
Yeah, all those in favor?
Well, wait a minute.
What?
Discussion.
Okay, sorry.
So make sure you take out your papers.
yeah, I'll make sure you know when they're ready.
Right. So that you could be elected in June.
Yeah, you'll probably win in the landslide.
I hope I'm worthy.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, that takes care of that. So do we have Gabby or? Okay. Gabby, is that you?
And,
I see Gabby. I see someone moving. Thank you, Ben. Sorry about that. Brad.
so Brad has been, 2 meetings. Can we get a quick rundown?
Sure.
Well, one meeting was just sort of general orientation about talking about the priorities for the years. we're thinking about doing some fundraising around a couple of the facilities. And in particular, they'll identify the need for addressing the track and football field, as well as the auditorium and the high school. The other meeting focused on some negotiation with the staff in terms of their raise, and some of that was an executive session. They all themselves. We are trying to come up with a good solution for just getting my feedback on. It looks like I will be appointed to the curriculum committee and the student engagement task force. So I'll be on a couple other subcommittees for the school board. Once I have a little bit more information about some of those initiatives, I'm happy to bring it back to the board.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Why don't, why don't we take again out of order the audio improvements for the community room? We have a gentleman here for that. And if you want to come on up and review what you have, and then maybe Gabby will join us. We'll be able to.
Oh, new numbers for digestion. Can't believe my fingers.
That's the other problem I have.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Some for public if you want. So this, I have to say, this is the most friendly board I've ever been to in terms of shifting things around. Thank you. The first thing that I was asked to do is just to fix the audio problem. And that's what's on the top line of the fourth thing. All these things probably don't mean a thing to anybody except me. It's just the stuff that's going to go into it. But I can be very briefly describe it. One of the most, half the budget goes to particular microphones. I've put 7 microphones in because I figure that the planning board would want to be public. I just checked on the agenda and noticed that they aren't. And so the 7 mics allows the planning board to be streamed as well with good audio. And so this would be microphones in front of everybody. And depending on where you wanted the station, over by Penny or over in back of Terry, everything would lead to there. It would take an operator for sort of maximum utilization. Oh no, we're not in the visual yet. We're just on the thing. And if saving $200-300 at a time is an issue, the speakers are the next most expensive thing. Actually, it's a single speaker, beautiful sounding speaker. You want to spend money where energy changes transformation, it changes status. So microphone, you spend money there because it's physical waves going into electricity. And then the other end, the speakers, you want to spend good money. These are too good for this room. So we can save some there if you want to, save $500. That's what the note is on the Behringer thing. The mixer I'm suggesting for you is actually a used automatic mixer that I have in my basement. And I think 7 out of the 8 channels work. But if anything, if we decide that that's just not working out, I'll refund you the entire amount to a new one. Not having a real feel, I don't want you to spend money that you don't have to. But the new one is listed in the notes. So what that gets you is the exact same physical layout, computer here, computer there, only everybody can hear you. We haven't done anything to the visuals right now. This camera, blocks you off, and maybe you'd like it that way, but anyway, lean over to vote. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, I waded into the pool of visual stuff. And what this is a cost-effective solution. Normally, when I do a bigger room, I'll have cameras that are actually 3 times what this guy cost. But this is kind of the best of the basic equipment. We would put a camera probably not here, but all the way back there, so you can get a wide shot and a tight shot. Again, an operator, which Penny or Terry or anyone you wanted to have, I could train them to do that. All the other nonsense is just all the things included in being able to choose. Now, the other thing you'd be able to do is directly take, and sort of this is more planning board than you guys, but if the gentleman last meeting from Gartley and Dorsey had, the state engineer had all these visuals. We could take those visuals and put them up in very sharp form with this system. That's what, there's a lot of growing ability in this system, and there's not any money wasted if you decide, oh, can we have 3 cameras? You know, which is probably 5 years down the road, and you do that because of the angles where everybody sits. So again, in effort to save as much, be just as cost effective as possible, to give you a very flexible system, and that's not too crazy for someone to learn how to use. And both the audio and the visual, it could be a set and walk away. It could be just what you have here, only the camera is more flexible. You can set it and you can say, okay, I'm done as an operator, I'm going to dinner. So you don't have to have an operator. It's always, in my world, because I want to achieve this level of quality, I always want to have somebody there, but the way that both segments of this are designed, it's you could do it without. The only flag is that some of the manufacturers are behind, as we all know, that chip production and everything else is a little bit crazy. I'm not sure if I can get a hold of those mics right off the bat. 3 weeks ago, I was sure. Now I just talked to the rep and he said, I'm having trouble. So that's the one thing. The rest of these things are in stock at my normal supply. So there we are. If you wanted to make a decision on the audio, if those mics are in, we could have it set up by the next meeting. If there wasn't that rush, you can take more time to think about it. And let me just check my notes because my brain. Oh, right here. I just want to make sure. Oh, then one of the more important questions is, aside from the audience, can you guys hear each other when you're talking in this situation? You're okay for that? Yeah. And the one thing that bringing in the formality of the microphones, which would increase the quality hugely, is that we'd probably have a mic stand right here and people would stand in front of there, and then your public will be heard just as well as we.
I think that's going to be an issue.
Having people actually stand in
We
front of
have that tradition of a very free-flowing public comment, as you probably witnessed.
Yeah.
We basically let people chime in pretty much at will, as long as they raise their hand.
Yeah.
And for everybody to have to get up every time,
Too
it's
formal.
going to be disruptive and lengthen the meetings.
We could put a mic right there and say,
Speak up.
there you are. Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking.
And if you don't want to record it, don't say it.
Does anybody agree with that? I agree with that.
Okay.
I just think that that's not going to work well for us.
Good, because I forgot to put the mic stand in the photo.
Things work out.
Yep. Let me just make sure with the single camera, you just addressed that. My note here was normally after this camera here, which is flexible, it could come in close to anybody on the board or wide angle. I would normally put a camera right there to go back to the audience, thinking that they would come up and stand. But if they're in there, it's kind of a visual mosh pit anyway. But the second camera that you would get would be just to visually represent the audience.
If we had, but if we had the 7 mics and we wanted to say say the engineer was here in person tonight. we
Sure.
could talk to him. He wanted, we could invite him to
Absolutely.
sit at a chair, and he would have a mic and be on the camera.
Yeah, you guys have 2 extra mics. Planning would run out of mics, but no, they're 5 plus 1 plus 1.
How would the mics work? Are they always on? Or
They're automatic in that, if one of the things you want to look out for is bleed. So if somebody's probably goes to you here and you were here, if they're saying not right up to the mic, that mic's going to pick it up just as much as that. But they have an automatic squelching situation that it says, if I'm getting the same stuff from here and here, I'm going to cut that one out. So they are automatic to the extent of not building up the audio from an adjacent mic.
they're basically all on.
Yeah. They're on.
No one has to click, I don't, as chairman, I wouldn't have to let someone.
Correct. And there is a privacy bar, but you guys are so close, you know, that if you say something rude and crude, it's gonna go to the other mic anyway. And I'm sorry, Walter, the one other thing that's not on here that I would love to see. The last time that was still on the wall last time, right? Because for some reason I thought it was down here, that monitor. Yeah.
It's always been right there.
So in a formal situation, if this were a more formal body, I would suggest to you to have a monitor here that you guys can see instead of looking there. And then a monitor on the other side that everybody there. I did not put that in to the quote, but it's put a 50-inch monitor up there. It's $600 for 2.
Right? Two questions. These microphones that you're having discussed, are these gonna be permanently mounted?
No,
Okay, this is a community room, it's not just for the selectmen,
yeah,
meaning the fire department is trained, EMS. But the other aspect is the TV monitor. We utilize that for training and sit in this direction.
Yep.
So just thoughts of you guys are doing the plan by that aspect.
part of, yeah. Yeah, the gear would be struck, put away. And so it wouldn't even be in the way except probably just a box of stuff over there. And anything that would be on the wires would not be part of it. We could spend more money, we could have things in the wall and wire all that, but I figured that wasn't really necessary, that level of formality, but yeah, the mics would come right off and the tables fold up and.
How much time are we talking to set up and break down every meeting?
20 minutes, 15 minutes, if that.
It's fairly substantial.
Yeah. If half of that table were available for that's with all, well, the audio stuff we're talking about, we were sort of have two things. The visual stuff would take no time because that would be more of a permanent thing. So 10 minutes to set up 7 mics, do that. Not even 10 minutes.
Plus we wouldn't we be able to record for Zoom or
Yeah.
Zoom purposes?
Oh, yeah.
So you'd lose this setup time.
Correct.
So net, it may not be that big a difference. So,
Yeah.
Amy, did you?
Can I just ask, what's the difference between a 360 column? Like, is this just?
The 360 meeting, I had 2 clients that bought those. This is just a device that is brilliant in its thought process, which is you plunk it right here, and you have people all around the table, and then as they speak, the camera gets smart enough to go, oh. Basically, my clients said it just didn't work. So it wasn't. You still have physically the same issue of a microphone. The thing that's listening is sitting right here, so it's 6 feet away and 6 feet away and 6 feet away. The camera will follow you.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you like it? Yeah. So that's $1,000, and Jeff goes like this, plunks and wash. It's a consideration.
No, I just wondered if it's like wireless.
Yep. Yeah.
It's been working great with our meetings,
Okay.
so. That was, I'm sorry.
No. It's a great question.
Actually, Terry had been, you said if I remember, the only issue you had at all was that sometimes it was a little slow getting to the person who was speaking.
That's what Tara said. I've never actually seen it in use.
Oh, you
By
haven't?
the time I By the time they get it hooked up, like,
Yeah. But you know, it maybe didn't get there for the first 2 words or 3 words. Or something.
Yeah.
Have you experienced
Yeah,
that?
we put it around and then we actually behind it, and the hardest part is someone way back there.
Yeah.
So it would be the same thing.
Well,
The
yeah,
microphone
physics
would have to come
hasn't changed.
Yeah.
It's a very smart, clever,
Yeah.
thing that takes a variety of microphones that are built in and aims the camera. And that's really its cool thing, is the aiming the camera, however late it might be.
Yeah, and then we put it up on.
Yeah. But the one thing that endures is the fact that the closer the listening source is to the speaking source, what happens is the less the room comes into it. So,
No, I didn't know if that was.
yeah,
How much are one of those?
$1,000,
Um,
1,000, yeah.
And they replace,
Everything, the whole audio.
oh, really?
Well, in a sense, they replaced everything.
Including the visual?
Including the visual, because it has a built-in camera, and so you could certainly try that for 6 months, and if you didn't like it, then you could sell it off and cost you $300 net, to use it for a while.
Tempting to me.
Yeah. But the quality of sound that you'll get from this setup is significantly better.
But if we could test it for 6 months for $700, as opposed to spending over 11 grand,
Yeah.
And that'll also give us the speaker function. Does it give us the speaker function?
No.
or Just,
Um,
so we still need it.
Yeah, no, the incoming, yeah, the incoming would come from that device. Yeah.
so we still have to use this then for,
Well, as she said, they it's the owl plus TV. So, and, yeah. So, and also that monitor has more than one input, so your input would always be, stick with you, and if we use it, stuff, I wouldn't move it, but we just plug it in there.
how, is there a difference on how people zoom in?
No, the process that they would go through to get to the meeting wouldn't change at all.
So
In none of these iterations.
Where will the iMac live?
Where will the iMac live? I would presume right there. And you'll notice that there's also an option, because they're just about the same price for this MacBook Pro.
Can you just explain a couple of these bigger ticket items, what they actually are?
Sure.
So, PTZ controller.
Controls the camera. That's what allows the camera to manually, by operator, do the same thing that the owl does by automatic.
That would go away with an owl.
Yeah, the camera would go away. Yeah, there's probably, aside from monitors, there'd be nothing here that the owl that would stand. This is old school thought, but it's also still the best quality. But honestly, for the people at home, aside from that limited what they can't see, this is actually working fairly well. Despite your nervousness about it, people can hear you reasonably well. The difference would be that they can hear you 10 times better with the microphones placed here. Owl's not going to be that much better in terms of, it'll be twice as good than what you get here, particularly if everybody's sort of in the same radius. And then the system I've designed would be, you can have people all over it to be really good.
For some reason that I don't understand, this seems to have gotten better over time, what we're doing currently.
One of the things could be turning the fan to low from high.
Well, yeah, the problem I have is I can't see it. I mean,
Sure.
I think it would be nice if everybody could see it on a bigger screen. We tried to do that with a simple cable, it couldn't get that little, but. So what do we want to do? Do we? Who, can I ask who your 2 clients are that don't like the owl?
One was Camden International Film Festival, and then one was a group down in New York.
So was it a similar setting in terms of?
They actually had a bigger room. But they found their voices got lost. They get, you address the same thing. If you're sort of outside of that perimeter of what the microphones expect, you're in Siberia. And it just, and it wasn't good for them there.
I like the idea of trying.
I do too. Particularly if it, doesn't be 5 or 6 months and assuming we can get hooked to that or another TV.
Yeah.
There's some technical problems with the cable plug in there, right? Or
There's something wrong with the, you just need to dongle. Maybe get on there. Well, we tried the cable you said would work and it didn't work.
there's something broken.
Yeah.
Oh,
One of the HDMI.
no.
Just broken.
Well, yeah. The TV is about 14 years old and it has significantly older connections. So you're going through a $10 box to make it work with that, and that's where you're.
So we could get an owl and a new TV, and the new TV would be compatible with the fire chief users, I would assume.
But, yeah, we can make sure it is. Sure.
Altogether. Becky, on this group.
Oh, you guys are tough now.
I guess I like the try and buy for the owl
Yeah,
With the new TV.
for the new TV.
And that setup time is less.
oh, yeah,
And he talks,
stuff is made.
the owl talks to the Mac.
I wouldn't need to, I'm sorry, yes, it would.
Because we still got a Zoom.
Yeah. No, I'll work that all out for you. So I'll give you another proposal and it'll have all that on it and you'll see where you go.
And we'd be worried about an iMac being here all the time, rather.
Well, the way to do that is to get the MacBook Pro and take it somewhere. It's basically little home. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you be able to use that? To still Zoom like we are.
Oh, I mean, you could for that,
You'll find it to be so much easier if you use the Mac. But
yeah.
then again, I don't do this.
When we step up to the stuff that this would be interfacing with, that's where you need the Mac, because all the other gears oriented towards the kind of port that it has, the Thunderbolt 3. But for the Owl, you could stay with that, or you could go with the Mac. And the Mac, the advantage of the Mac for you guys would be that it has a purpose. It's always there, and I'm not sure how this gets shared around. I'm speaking out of turn, but it would be for that purpose only. And
Well, isn't that what we bought that for?
Oh, we bought that for, no, actually, because we weren't doing this when we bought that.
Yeah.
We bought
Okay.
that, so I wasn't using mine. To
Okay,
do
so now we
remotes-
can go
remoting
back.
and stuff.
so the elephant in the room that I haven't talked about is that if and when we go back to only doing things by Zoom, if you want, the other thing that's downplayed here, I didn't put it on this sheet, but so there's two things I want to address real quickly. One is that when you're doing Zoom, and if you want to have anything besides just the 16 people on the screen, what you do is you feed a participant thing into a computer. This would be just like you're sitting at home, but then you go through the switcher into the other computer that then puts it not necessarily on Zoom, but it puts it on Vimeo or something like that. But the advantage of that is you have an operator there who says, oh, it would be good for me to say person speaking. Oh, it would be good now for me to go to the whole matrix of everybody because you might be voting. So having an operator do your Zoom meetings as well, not ultimately important because you could just treat it like any you can just record it, but it helps with understanding what's going on between speaker view and gallery view. So this computer would still have value if you're in that scenario, because you'd have this one and the Mac, and it would talk to each other and go out to that. The other thing that I suggest for most of my clients like you is that you establish, rather than YouTube and rather than here's the address for the actual Zoom meeting, is to put everything on Vimeo. Vimeo is a service that has A, higher quality, which is one of the reasons I like it, but B, it has no ads at all. So you could, if you were doing meetings where you had people who just wanted to listen in but not necessarily take part and come and go as Zoom, you would send everything to Vimeo. And this computer would play a role in that situation, even if you're doing Zoom meetings.
Well, this is a lot to take in. Do we want to get a revised proposal with the owl, this on the next agenda? And you don't, we can Zoom you in. You don't have to make another trip down.
Oh, this is where my heart is. I gotta check on the boat.
Yeah, and I apologize, we didn't point you in that direction before.
Oh, no, that's right. No, it's a great question. It's
No,
you know,
don't be sorry.
I have my criteria that I apply on your behalf, and I may have gotten it wrong.
Well, you asked us. I don't think we knew enough. I don't
Yeah.
think we knew what questions to ask.
Yeah, no, that's good. And as I say, if for some reason the owl doesn't work out, I have enough people coming to me to say, come up with a solution, we can do it, somebody has used.
I would like to ask Amy one more question. When you say it works well in St. George, are you talking about at selectmen's meetings or? Okay, you're not talking about it in an ambulance meeting with 5 people there or something?
Nope.
Okay,
No, anything with Selectboard and all the planning board.
okay,
Yeah.
Right.
okay. So we'll put this on the next agenda. You'll give us a proposal, which will include the TV and whatever, and
Yeah,
how to make it work, because nothing's ever quite as easy as, oh, but you need this and this.
that's the truth. That's the truth.
So you can think it through a little instead of doing it on your feet here tonight, so. Okay.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Very much.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
Are we gonna be able to get Gabby, do you think, or are we still? No. This is the second week. Do we wanna wait another week or are we just willing to accept Amy's recommendation? I know, Walter, you have some concerns about not meeting people face to face, but.
She doesn't,
She's tried.
She lives in Warren and she has spotty service. She was gonna come down to the meeting, but wasn't sure exactly if she could get back to class. She didn't want to be late for class.
Sure.
She was gonna take a break from class to get on this meeting.
You want to start using her driving right?
I do. I mean, I can start her in my service.
okay.
Okay. I am joking, I mean, but I think particularly for that position as a driver with Amy's recommendation, okay, so is there a motion?
I move that we authorize Amy to hire Gabby Bauman as an ambulance driver, soon to be an EMT.
Further discussion?
I have a question. How much attrition, if any, have you had of all the people you brought in over the last 2 years? Say what, you can't hear me?
No,
We need it now.
I know.
How much attrition have you had from your staff over the last 2 years as you've been bringing all the yeah, who's come and gone?
We actually haven't had a lot of people. We had 3 in the last probably year because of COVID and their services. Full-time jobs, not letting them work for part-time jobs due to COVID and so other than that, we still have 26 on the roster and about 20 rotating. If they're not in for 3 months, then I send an email and then subjects or.
Okay.
I think there's a number.
No, I just while you were here,
Yeah.
question came up.
All those in favor? Okay. Ambulance, let's continue down with Amy. Ambulance write-offs, the next two items are related to her ambulance billing write-offs. And see, Terry gave us a copy of the policy tonight too. What's- One question I had, is, it seems as though some of these proposed write-offs don't qualify under the policy, and I'm assuming that has something to do with the fact that we're moving from one billing company to another, but I can't find it right now. One paper. I got it here, just I can't lick my fingers. Ah, Our policy says that 3 years have passed since the service date, and obviously a lot of these, or some of these don't meet that. I don't believe.
It
But
also,
on the other hand, pardon?
it also says 2 years have passed and no statements are going out.
Yeah, which I don't quite understand what that means, but it also says 1 year has passed since Medicare and Medicare, but it doesn't indicate which of these are Maine or Medicaid, and if they all are Medicare, then they would all qualify. I assume they're not though.
They have a close.
Huh?
Close, but when we went through it, we just put down the ones that weren't, no more statements are going out.
And how come statements aren't going out? Is that something where Tammy dropped the ball or?
That would be a major question.
Okay.
So as of after 4 statements, she did not follow up on that. After 6, was it 6/21, 21? Stopped her. She said she wasn't going to follow up on anything, so our new billing service is backdated until that. We can bill anything that has not been billed, so we actually will continue from June and July, or sorry, May and June, with May 21st. But after that, we haven't got anything from Tammy to even follow up on patient bill.
Okay, so is it fair to say that this is an attempt to start with a clean slate with the
It
new,
is an attempt.
with the new billing?
She's supposed to be sending me by bill all patient bills, so at least we can send letters and follow on that. That's actually our biggest income that's not coming.
Which
All
is-
the insurance ones got back.
I'm sorry, what's the biggest knock?
Patient billing. Ones that have no insurance.
Oh, in the individual. Oh, well, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Exactly. So those are the ones that hopefully we'll get from her so that we can at least look at them in the last year and try to do something. But,
Okay. I don't mean to be questioning you guys' recommendations. I know you worked hard on this, but 20 grand is a lot to write off, just sort of. Like that.
The only one I had a question on is, it looks like the service date was 9/3/21.
Oh, that's the typo. Well, I'm sure, I'll check on it, but I'm quite sure that's probably a typo. Because I was going down through the list, that was me.
Well, if you look at I assume those numbers to the right are some sort of sequence run numbers or something. So, and if you look at that,
Yeah.
it's in sync with,
Yeah.
right, so it probably is indeed a type.
That was just me thinking it's 21.
It is 21. So what's your pleasure, gentlemen?
I make a motion that we approve the recommendation to write off $25,994.86. Is that right?
25,994.86.
Yeah.
Looks like that's broken down for 2018, it's $6,204.12. 19, it's $19,730.74. Second.
Discussion, I do have one question now that you broke it down by year. Why is the closer years so much more? I just answered my own question. Never mind. Further discussion? Anything else you want to add, Amy or Terry? I assume you'll get this to the auditor when that time comes.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that happened last time.
And just to add how important doing this is, I know we're writing off $25,000. But if we didn't, it would count against our current year's income. And it would actually show really important.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful that this new billing company will be more aggressive and probably a lot of these people would have qualified for waivers if they had gone through the process. I'm making that assumption, particularly since it's,
The new company seems friendlier, friendly, I mean, it's not quite the right word, but I think we can work with them to say, okay, they haven't paid, we want to send them the hardship letter. And I think they're more willing to work with us. And I've gotten a report from them every single week.
I mean, I would bet my selectmen's bet, which is not betting much, that a lot of these people would have qualified for the waiver.
Yes, I agree.
That makes me feel a little more comfortable. Okay, all those in favor? Okay. Update on EMS regionalization. I'm looking at this as a kind of actually a two-part discussion. I'm hoping Amy maybe has some updates for us on your discussions. And then Jeff, I know you attended the county commission's meeting where our letter was addressed, and hopefully we can get an update from you. Yep. And I see our county commissioner is here as well. So Amy, do you want to start where things are at? And I also want to acknowledge the fact that you sent us a letter regarding our efforts. And I think we need to talk a little bit about that because I think things got a little misconstrued on what we were trying to do, or at least that's my impression.
Totally shocked by Willie Chief Farley's reaction. And so I'm really curious as to where the disconnect.
Do we want to start there or do we want to start?
Well, I'm curious as to, you guys did have
We had a meeting, the day after I had the select board here that I said, so when I finally got everybody to sit at the same table, that we would discuss what we needed, we would see what people's thoughts were, and what we need to bring to get information to the towns and select boards. So we did have a meeting, we sat down, we discussed on boxes of kind of big area, and everybody has their own agendas on what they want, and regionalization is a hard topic because everybody wants their hometown to have what they want and the expectations of what they want. So we started with staffing, and as you know, not everybody has enough. We're lucky. We are scheduled here for November. So, but I know that you guys is looking at what is possible for EMS and fire. We looked at location and response. If we utilize, are you gonna have an ambulance in your town? And how long is it gonna take to get an ambulance? You would tell me if someone's in respiratory stress, or CPR, or someone fell down, it's been on the floor for. So we looked at those. We also looked at cost sharing and revenue. So if we regionalize, who's gonna be the main donor of this? And what's gonna happen? So we came up with some things to look at, like staffing levels of what we have in each service. So we wrote down what to bring to the table the next time. So staffing levels, equipment. The other thing is what's the expectations of the town? Do you want a service in your town? And what do you want for service? Want to be less service? You want a paramedic here all the time, and a firefighter? So those are some of what I sent in that letter, like what we're looking at right back and budgets. So I got budgets for 3 towns. I brought our meeting after the second meeting is tomorrow at 3:00. And I guess the first question is what is this? What is it gonna look like? Or want to look like for a town? I know we looked at one of our things with districts, they call it instead of a whole region. So break down into district. I know Chief Ellis said that Route 1 district, all of it, which is so we looked at what was best for the towns and what district would be at this end. Board pushing depending on what each town wanted for their service. So that's what we kind of put down on paper and what to bring back. So that we could kind of summarize, we can go on fire again this full time, or do we want it separate? And I can tell you if you want fire again, that's full time, all the time, it's gonna cost you probably double the amount. And that's exactly what they said, and then it's at the table. So what I need, I guess, from, and I've asked other towns, is what you want, what you're gonna expect.
Can I just ask, when you said we met, can you just define
Oh, sorry. So that would be Chief Smeltzer,
from Waldeboro,
Chief Farley,
Camden,
Chief Whitehop,
and what town is that?
Chief Robin,
Okay,
Chief Farley, Chief Richards.
and Chief Richard was,
So,
okay.
so Lincolnville kind of is, plus you've got the islands and you've got. So we kind of tried to.
These are sort of the bigger the towns, so to speak. I mean,
Yeah. Other than.
well, and your collectively is probably, yeah. Okay, thank you. I personally can't tell you what our expectations are at this point. I think that's a conversation that needs to be had at a much larger level, and certainly, just so you know, I mean, I've been around since 1990. We've talked about this for 32 years. And it kind of goes in bits and starts, and then it'll sputter out, and then there's interest in it. But with me, it isn't just cost. I just not sure down the road as training gets more sophisticated, and I think as you pointed out in your letter, we're moving, and it's not just with EMS, but we're moving from the world of volunteerism in true sense. Actually, we probably already moved. And we're struggling with that, whether it's finding a code officer or any municipal employee. People just aren't willing to sort of work for $5 an hour because they contribute to the town, so to speak. You know what I mean? It was a sense of, but in terms of, so I'm not prepared to.
No,
I couldn't even begin to.
That's exactly what
Yeah,
we did.
yeah.
We sat down and said, these are what we need to know.
Yeah.
This is what.
Yeah.
we want.
But and I'm not convinced that although it's obviously it can be done. I mean, you know, huge counties like the county that includes Minneapolis and St. Paul is a county EMS service, as we all learned from the George Floyd trial. But I don't personally see us heading that way quickly. I see us personally, I would like to see us have a conversation between Thomas and St. George, pushing Owl's Head and us, maybe inside a larger conversation. But, and I don't know that Walter or Jeff share that. I mean, I don't think we've, I think at this point, we're just sort of taking the first baby steps. And my intent in urging the county to perhaps spend some of their ARP funds to assist in some sort of regionalization, and I don't know what that looks like, was that I thought, wow, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity where we potentially could bring a carrot to the table, a carrot being money. So, and it was, in my mind, it was to sort of complement and support the effort that you folks were doing. But I'll let Walter and Jeff address your question about expectations.
Yeah, I don't know where it went off the track, but that letter was to say to the county, save some of your money for the regionalization efforts that are happening, that are already happening. The issue about the money, it's not the budget, but we're at an opportunity now where we attempted this 15 years ago. We tried to get the towns to accept some regionalization. And there were well thought out ideas and over a year's worth of committee, just like you're working right now. They came up with a recommendation, they took it to the town, and the town said, no, we're not interested in it because the cost was okay. So their emotions, the fact that they wanted somebody standing over them when they had a heart attack to be somebody that they knew, which was in reality a false, because it wasn't somebody they knew anyway. But anyway, that was their impression. So they wanted to keep their ambulance and not regionalize. And at that time, it was motion outweighed the cost. It wasn't hitting them in the pocketbook. I think now the costs are getting greater. That's still not the reason for regionalizing. The reason for regionalizing is because it's more efficient if we regionalize. You can have quicker response times if you regionalize. You can have better paid staffs if you regionalize. The cost and the effort of being a professional EMS or firefighter is significantly increasing every day. What the state tells us you got to do, what feds tell you got to do, and the amount of resources, not just money, but time that has to be devoted to doing that grows exponentially. And if we do not do regionalization, at some time the system will fail. It's going to break. And the efforts to date have been Band-Aid efforts. They have been trying to fix the system we currently have, put Band-Aids on them so that they survive. And my personal opinion is we're past that. We need to look at the system overall, come up with the right system, and then move towards that right system, not just Band-Aid the existence of the system we currently. And I don't think we can get there just doing the efforts that the ambulance and the fire department are doing. I think you have to bring the towns and the elected officials and the municipalities to the table. You have to bring them in earlier rather than later. And I think that's been part of our problem in the past, is we have not brought them to the table early. And so when it comes time for this new system that we think we've got to be sold, now you have to convince the elected officials that it's the right thing to do. And then they have to convince the towns that it's the right thing to do, the voters in the town. Significant steps that are delayed because we don't bring the elected officials along during the process. So my letter had one primary purpose, and that was to tell the county, set some money aside for the efforts that are going on. Because we're gonna need some money for it. I'm convinced of it. But I also did throw in there, I would like the county to take a leadership role in facilitating this process, especially with the elected officials from the town. I don't think that, I don't think the ambulance director should have to go to the town and say, what do you want your ambulance to look like? I think that the town, the municipal elected officials ought to sit down with somebody. I think it's the county, but it could be somebody else. It could be somebody from the state who's facilitating a meeting to say, what do we want it to look like in 10, 15, 30 years? And that's the process. Yeah, but I don't think we can, I can tell you what I don't want an ambulance or a fire department in my town. I want one very close to me, to my house. I want the reaction time to be short. It doesn't have to be a South Thomaston or even in South Thomaston. Where I live in the gig, it could be in Owl's Head. That's fine by me. But I'm not convinced that the town is ready. The people who live in the town are ready for that, even though it might be the most efficient. And it might be the only way the process and the system will survive into the future. So, and the letter was, there were two things about the letter. One was it was a first step. This was not, hey, we're thinking about doing this. This was somebody needs to take the lead, and I think it's the county. I think that's where it is. But the other part was as an opportunity to get some money set aside for a study, which I think is the first step. I think they're going to hire Neil Courtney to update his previous study that he did. But again, I still think that's looking at it with our existing silos as opposed to a flat landscape and figuring out how it should look, what the best way for it to look. But again, that's a personal opinion. That is not necessarily what the select board thinks. It's not necessarily what the town thinks. I can tell you, I tried to sell this 15 years ago and was shot in the face by the town. And if the voters in the town are against it, then I'm not going to bring it up again. Especially if the fire department and the ambulance is against it as well. Walter, do you want to?
Well, yeah, but just, so that was like the first town meeting that I went. And wasn't that about, the proposal was to outsource ambulance to Rockland?
Yes, well, the contract with Rockland and also. Well, we would also keep the ambulance here and people could volunteer just to stop on it. So it wasn't quite as simple as that, but yes.
All right, so first of all, I continue to believe that we have a leverageable model. Why aren't South Thomaston, St. George, and Thomaston a region? Seems to me that, and so that I'll follow up on my request that I think that the select boards from those three towns should have a confab to talk about that. How do we, Amy mentioned, I thought we solved this problem 2 years ago, by the way, that our EMS pay is not on par with Thomas. So something for us to consider at budget time. As we know, if they have their choice of which of the three towns to work in, if we're behind on top, then they're going to make that.
That's a constant.
Well, yeah,
That's right.
Well, I can tell you right now, most EMS services are paying double what most other ones are. So we don't have. CLCs don't have $20 an hour.
Right, so
But
the median, I looked at the median for paramedic in Maine is $20 some an hour.
we can,
Yeah. So for me, we have a leverageable model, so let's see what we can get out of that leverageable model, but over time, to me, it's response time by the highest level of skill that we can afford or attract. Because I've had the experience of having them have to show up at my house real quick, and they're much faster now than they were then. So for me, it's like, when do we get to 7x24 on-site coverage?
Yeah, and to me, it's a contest in every little town afford to have 24/7 coverage. I mean, you know, so I'm not thinking about necessarily today, because Amy brought out a lot of good points that yes, the budget's increased, but if you net out the increase in the revenue, it's not anywhere near as if we look at the surface, and I get that, believe me. I mean, I understand numbers and how that all works, and but I do want to apologize to you, though. We definitely should have CC'd you on the letter, and I don't believe that we did. But I thought you were here.
And that was my fault, because I thought you were at the meeting.
Yeah, because we talked about the Lucas, and you must have left just, and again, it's the damn Zoom. I can't tell when people leave, because
yeah,
we talked about it right after the Lucas thing. So I assumed you were totally in that loop. And David's here a lot too. I don't know if he was here or not that evening, but maybe you had a call. And I don't see that. So because just in the pure apology, I thought you knew about this completely. So,
I thought you were right here when we were discussing.
but anyways, David had a comment.
And you're missing all of the fire personnel and all of these investors, that this blindsided when they found out that this letter got sent out and regionalization was talking about doing away with fire and EMS in this town. There was a lot of people that were very discouraged.
That letter didn't talk about going away with fire.
Didn't even come close.
Didn't even.
so when regionalization is.
Hang on, David, are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, and then, sorry, then Brian had his hand. So,
Oh.
sorry, Amy.
Well, I have some quirks on the deputy chief, but I'd like to know why I've been left out of all this. I knew nothing about this letter till I got a phone call from Chief Farley asking what was going on in South Thomaston. I have no idea what you're talking about. So I've had eggs on my face for the last week and a half with numerous phone calls trying to find out what we're doing, and I have no idea what this letter is. I haven't even seen the letter. It seems like we're focused. I understand right now this regionalization, the main topic is EMS. Fire's working its way in slowly, and I've been waiting for the chief saying we're gonna sit down and talk. We're not there yet. I'm now going Thursday afternoon to this meeting because all of a sudden the way I'm gonna find out is I gotta do my own homework since I can't be communicated from my board. When you guys use the word fire department, and then it goes to the commissioners, and I look like an idiot, and I'm sorry, but I prefer, if I'm gonna look like an idiot, I'll do it myself. I wanna know what's going on. I am not against regionalization. I don't agree with half of what Jeff just said, but it's his opinion, and I respect his opinion. It is something that's been in the process for the last 30 years. It is on a hot topic with the fire chiefs. We meet quarterly. We haven't met lately because of COVID and getting things back in line and getting our shorter, smaller meetings put together. I do remember a year or so ago with Walter, I believe was the one that approached me, if I would be willing to sit down and discuss talking with Ozhead or St. George, and I said, I was more than willing. Tell me when. It stopped. Obviously, COVID hit, so that's probably why it didn't happen. Then this letter comes up and I get blindsided. I'm feeling a little disrespected that, I'm the second longest department head in this town, and I get treated like I'm a teenager, and I don't need to know unless it's really concerning, and it's really frustrating.
Well, Brian, first of all, very little's going.
Well, you sent out a letter.
We sent, yeah, I'm gonna read this letter because people aren't reading the same letter I'm reading.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying, that people are taking a different perception of what was written.
A big difference,
And I understand that, but
but,
if I at
but
least knew what the letter was. I
Yes.
could have-
and we should have, obviously, we should have CC'd it to Amy and you. I don't deny that. That's an oversight on our part. I'll accept responsibility for that. But short of that, this letter, there's nothing going. I mean, really, what's going on is the discussions that are happening between Amy and the group she's talked about. This letter simply said, I'm gonna read it. South Thomaston has submitted 3 projects for your consideration. This is to the Knox County Commission. But this letter is a request to consider a broader use of a portion of your ARP funds. Currently, there are renewed efforts to, once again, we're referring to the efforts that Amy's been talking to us about, attempt to consolidate regionalized area fire and EMS facilities, manpower and equipment. South Thompson would like to strongly support these efforts, the efforts that Amy's undertaking and whoever, in my mind, and request that Knox County take an active role to lead and facilitate regionalization of these critical, high-demand, short supply resources. We would urge you to host a meeting inviting interested towns to discuss this matter. South Thompson would also ask you to dedicate some of the county's ARP funds to regionalization of EMS in the short term, and fire in the long term. We simply were trying to support the efforts that were taking place, the discussions that were taking place. I thought Amy was fully aware of it because we discussed it right as we talked about the Lucas and the premium pay. Evidently, Amy must have left and I wasn't aware of that. So again, my apology. And that's it. There's nothing going on. We haven't had conversations. Amy asked us about our expectations. We haven't even talked about it. We were simply trying to see, and there was a deadline, if you will, of 31st or whatever, to get information in the county. So we were under the gun. And that's it. There's really nothing going on. I mean, it's as simple as that. And for some reason, this turned into.
Well, that's the problem. It's in the, and I understand what you're saying, and thank you for reading the letter, but if I had known that, so when I got a phone call, I could have relayed what you guys said, but I didn't know.
I know, and I'll say it again.
That's my point.
We should have CC'd it to you and Amy, and we didn't, and that was a mistake, and that's probably how this got off the rails. But again, I did think Amy was aware of it, so.
I was convinced that Amy was at the meeting, at the discussion and decided.
I think Terry went back.
No, I went back and checked the minutes. And it was a meeting when we talked about the Lucas, and you were there for that meeting. You were there.
Right, but I think.
I don't think you stayed though.
Yeah, and see, I didn't realize that. And again, because I can't tell who's from the meeting, so. You know. So again, I mean, I can't apologize
No, no.
10 times, but I do it.
And so when I took it to the commissioner, Amy and Chief Farley were there for a different reason. And they both got up and spoke, and I was shocked that they were offended by us asking the county to do that. I had no clue that was coming on. And I couldn't figure out where it was coming, because if you listen to Chief Farley's words on what he was saying, he wanted to do his vision of regionalization, it matches mine almost to a T. So I don't know how he read it differently. I was just dumbfounded by it, to be frank.
Dorothy, did you have a comment?
First of all, Brian, I got to tell you, I had to get a concern. That makes me feel it. So there were a lot of.
Well, it was sent to you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
well,
the fact that you didn't get it had nothing to do with us.
Right, I'm not,
Okay.
no, I'm just saying there was a lot of confusion in that whole thing. Now, and as far as the amounts go, you guys are suggesting, but you never actually submitted any kind of definite number. And I gotta say, at this particular point, I think it's off the table
You guys agreed to $20,000.
for the Neil Parking report, but that was the extent of it. Well, and.
And I took that as a win.
That was a suggested amount. Nothing was spent permanently.
I can tell you that Andy has already started discussion with the board
Well,
and scoping the study.
Interesting information.
well, first of all, this was not a project from South Thomas. This was a suggestion. And we purposely didn't put it in as a project because this was a regional thought to support a regional effort, not for one little town to grab money from the county that everybody.
I'm not gonna get into the debate,
I know.
but I am saying that at this point, the only money that's been actually discussed and will potentially continue to be discussed is the $20,000 which my impression, and just correct me if I'm wrong, was less than what you guys expected. But further to that,
I don't think we expected any.
No, I would.
You guys, you guys are all thinking this is too developed.
My objective, my hope was that the county would host the elected officials to sit them down at the table and say, what do you want from your future EMS and fire departments?
but I will
And
also.
start that
tell you-
discussion.
I will also tell you that the county is at least as gun shy as the various boards in South Thomas.
I heard that
in
loud
terms
and
of
clear.
reform, and probably more so.
Yeah, I mean,
And which is the reason that I've said all the way along, you have an opportunity to do it on a local level. And I mean, I think we've had conversations about this. It's gonna have to come that way because no, I mean, Chief Farley stands up there and says, Josh, what do you know about fire?
well, he's missing the point though. I mean,
Well,
It's not about fire.
It's not about.
That's maybe missing the point, but that's the attitude. And as long as that's the attitude, I don't see the county is going back.
Quite frankly,
There's one other thing I can't say because as the conversation gets going on. Because how often, how many hours do we have somebody here at the station? We have 2 hours. 2 hours a day. Yep. Okay.
half a ball. an hour.
It's the conversation for as long as I've been around, as long as I was sitting up there having these conversations, that table. It's always been about response time. And the most stunning thing that I will always remember is when a very dear friend of mine had a stroke on the Brisnet Island, and I got up to her house from my house, and the South Thomas and ambulance arrived, and Rockland's ambulance arrived right after. So to me, now that, it was after hours, admittedly, so when there's somebody in the station, it's a different story. But if you're coming from St. George, or you're coming from Rockland, or you're coming from, the response time is not that significant
Well,
unless they're actually in.
That's
the
assuming no one's here at the station.
But for 12 hours out of every day, there is somebody.
Well,
But there is somebody on call.
right.
But that's what I'm saying, is that on that occasion, and other occasions, and I know that when the phone goes off, I'm here having been already, I'm thinking, so the argument about the response times. I mean, the conflict, you're gonna have somebody here in the station, 24/7, and we would have.
Well, I don't know where we're gonna go with this. Quite frankly, I feel like this got off the rails so quickly that it strikes me as no good deed goes. What's the saying?
Yeah, no good deed goes.
I feel like just dropping the whole thing again. I thought it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, once in a 50-year opportunity to maybe get some money to help make this work. But it sounds like we missed the boat on that. The county's made decisions. Go ahead, Amy.
Can I just say something? So it was taken the wrong way because the minute you see visualization. Save money somewhere else. That's how people are speaking. So that's the same with Thomas. So the same thing, look at visualization to make it better. No, we don't want, we don't want to relax, you know what I mean? So the minute visualization is brought up, that's the attitude. It's like, no, I don't want my services, and that's control because it's your town. And you want to make sure that your response time is good. You want to make sure that what you have for providers. So I think being blindsided to understanding, I was already gonna be at meetings saying, what do these guys want? What are we gonna do? You know, what is the budget? What is that? So then to hear that a letter went out saying, hey, we want the county to take leadership in this. We're like, well, then what am I doing? What am I here for? You know, like, so I guess it felt like you had no confidence in what we do as fire EMS because you wanted to outsource it to someone else to come in and watch. So that's just how.
Nothing could be further from the truth.
So,
The cats that need to be herded are the municipal officers that are elected.
which I totally understand that, but until we come to you and say, this is the budget's gonna cost you for 24/7, and this is how many people we have, because we don't have the people to put somebody everywhere. And if we bring them together, you're gonna pay overtime, because we don't have enough people to put. You know what I mean? So it's not just if you have the people or how much your budget is, it's, we only have 177 providers in Knox County. That's it. And that's not even all that are actually running. So for me to put someone here for 3 days and St. George for a day, we're not paying them overtime. But they're happy to do that so that they get paid, you know, and they like the area, they like the town, they like who they work for, and who they like work with. Where if they're going to Rockland or CLC or somewhere else, they have no idea, you know, and they may be in Portland with a transfer. We're lucky, we don't have transfers here. So that's how we get people, you know? So I think that having this all put on paper and coming to you and say, this is what it's gonna cost you as a town for 24/7, and do you want that? Or this is what's gonna cost you for regionalizing these 4 towns, because you're gonna have the people with overtime. You know, those are the numbers that's gonna come forward. 2 is we're already regionalized in St. George. We get a medic whenever we want if we don't have one here. But here we have advanced every day, every night available, which we didn't 3 years ago. We have an advanced provider here. So we've moved people from drivers to EMTs to now advanced. So we're lucky. So I think being blindsided just means to be like, you know, we're here to help your town. Like, let us give you that input. And I think, yes, it was probably taken the wrong way, but it's very, we just went through, and I said that, you know, so to say thank you for helping us through a pandemic and not going on unemployment and not saying, hey, it's COVID, I'm not coming out for this call. We had no provider to do that. Everybody came with their shift and worked really hard to do that. So I think, yeah, we might have taken it wrong, but I think that communication is better in both ends, and I'll take some of that. I came to the meeting and I said, yeah, we're working on utilization and we're working on it. But it took me almost 3 months to get those guys to sit down and vote.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of work to even just do that.
Well, I don't know where to go. I mean, personally, I have no interest in pursuing it further. Walter, you'd like to convene a meeting of Thomaston, St. George, South Thomaston Select Board.
Well, I can tell you it's not St. George Selectboard because we're not part of it.
They're not engaged.
It'll be me.
You still, I mean, I'd like to include Owl's Head. I mean, people forget, we used to be regional like Owl's Head on there. It used to be South Thomaston and Owl's Head, and we've actually gone backwards in that sense of the word, but.
Well, they have a, I don't know how hard and fast their interlocal agreement is, but that's what they have with Rockland.
Right.
So.
I personally, this just took all the energy out of my sails, and if we can't get the money, I just don't have the stomach for it.
Well, I didn't say, I didn't say that for the money. I
Well,
just said
yeah,
that
you did.
there was no proposal for an amount of money. There was no estimate of what the expectation was or something like that. If somebody, we have a game decision, somebody wants to come forward with a proposal.
But that's the point, one single town is not gonna come forward. The way that was structured is it had to be applied by either by a municipality or a nonprofit agency. it didn't,
They're not gonna put it be sponsored by Monmouth. It could be done. There is no.
well, yeah, again, one town would have to pay this.
So why you couldn't get the donations? That's what, what needs there could be. We tried to have that conversation during the county. What do you need? We've got money, we've got big roads. We got small roads, that's all we need. So,
Right, it seems like the appetite's not there from what I heard from Chief Farley, so I mean.
but I am just saying, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's not over until it's over, but I don't think at this point, as you the confusion that the county has had with our ARPA. I mean.
Yeah.
So it's just not gonna happen unless somebody comes forward, and I do agree with it. Amy, thank you for the underlying problem is there always has been that unfortunately, until we get past some of these problems, it's always going to be. And can we do that? Which is part of the reason I said, all I personally would ask them, you guys, who's chance, because that's a problem, because you guys have a conversation, and the municipalities don't get, and the county doesn't. We didn't want it. I mean, if somebody comes to us, right, no, take it over. We can make that work, but nobody in the community wants to do that right now. All the reasons that it can't happen. Right.
Well,
But Jeff,
I'd like to bring this to a close. I think we spent enough time on it. Does anybody have a concrete proposal that they want to move forward? I personally have spent all the energy I want on this. Do you want to make a motion to invite?
No, I'm gonna go ponder whether I think there's any value in that.
Okay.
Meanwhile, I'm certainly 100% supportive of the efforts that Amy and Chris have started.
Yeah, I am too.
Knowing about them is why I asked for the update. And
Okay.
um, I just, speaking personally, I think you and your folks have done an outstanding job over the last 3 years, and I can't be more effusive in my praise.
And I second that. And this whole effort had in no way a commentary on the effort put forward. I mean, I think for-
Okay,
so,
so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to meet, just so you know. But we're gonna look at more a district in this area than a region. And I will.
That was my
send you
idea
information.
from the beginning. But,
How's that?
okay, we done? Thank you, and again, thank you very much, and I'm sorry you got off the track. And I'm sorry we didn't see the letter to you, and again, I thought you were there one time.
Try to stay on.
But I probably wanted to call. Okay. Thank you very much. And Brian, we'll try to CC you on more things as well.
Yeah, because even though it's not just the EMS regional, R and both doing it. So.
Yeah, I mean, my rule of thumb is you can't over communicate, so try to CC everybody. And Terry, maybe you can help us with that. Okay. All right, jumping back up to A and the whole business. We'll try to move some of these through quickly. On the vaccine incentive program, Terry tells us we had 18 applicants, 8 from South Thomaston, 6 of them who have had both their shots. The remainder are either people that have worked here or are frequent visitors. We really don't, a couple of people haven't submitted the paperwork yet, so it seems as though the most we're going to get is 18, which is far beyond my expectation.
We got 4 more today.
Really, great. So hopefully we have an impact here. And there's really no act. How much more? 200. Yeah. I did have a request from 2 residents who missed the date. They thought they were in by the date and they weren't. One of them happened to be an employee of ours. I said I'd bring it up at this meeting, but I thought the date was too long. I mean, they were by the date, and I felt it would be difficult to change that, but I do wonder if we should extend this. It seems to be successful, and we're still not out of this. And I personally would support that. I don't think there's anything better we can do with our money.
So we've got 18 now and 4 more.
Well, for me,
So the four that we got today are definitely.
oh,
they're all
they residents? Yeah, they're great. So there are people out there, and this person that I talked to, that got the shot, that isn't in this 18, this made the difference. They were on the fence. And it made the difference for him and his wife, and it is an employee of ours who is a sort of a someone who had difficulty sorting through I'll put it this way, the information that's out there. I have a better word for it, but so I'd like to see us extend this. I really would. I think it's made a difference in our town, and we know it's here, and we've had cases here. And,
Yeah, I mean, we're between 50 and 100 cases.
Yeah.
858 is 85% vaccinated.
but
Sprucehead is 99% vaccinated, by the way.
yeah, but we gotta remember, this is also people that are coming into town
Yeah,
that work
yeah,
here.
yeah, I'm for it.
I don't know
What a motion.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about a date. I do think we, if it doesn't work, if we leave it open-ended, but I was thinking, by the time we get the word out and stuff, probably, another 6 weeks or so. But yeah.
I'd move to extend it to 30 days test.
Let's make sure we do it on a Friday, if that's okay. Last time we did it on a Sunday. Well, actually, you could get a shot probably on Sunday. Well, maybe not. That's a Tuesday. That's good. Okay. Is there a second? Second. Further,
Is that the 30th of November?
yes. Further discussion? Any comments from the public on this? Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I think it's.
Okay. Go ahead.
I think this is working, that's great, but I wonder. Article I read that talked about the reason some people aren't getting it, and some of it has to do with logistical barriers, like they can't get off work or they're responsible for children if they can't bring the vaccination side of it. And I just wonder if we've explored, or we have any way to explore, are there people who aren't against getting vaccinated, but just have other problems? And if so, is there a way that we could address it? Some towns have events where, come to a picnic, and also, by the way, if you need a shot, you can get a shot right there. I just don't know. And maybe we just don't know why people aren't getting vaccinated. And
Well, I think we know anecdotally, from some of the folks that I think part of the $200 was, in my mind, if people say couldn't get time off without losing pay, that might help them in that regard. I know Terry gets quite a few calls, the office gets quite a few calls regarding, because at first there was a misunderstanding here. They thought that the town was giving shots on this when we first came out, and I believe you're sort of passing out information, or at least sending them to web links or something, or
what we've seen on that.
yeah. So I mean, we're trying, when people kind of come to us, we've been saying, you can go to Hannah. But and unfortunately, Amy just left, and she's probably the one who could help us the most in terms of, huh? Is she still there? Would you, maybe she has some thoughts on,
I'll
go ahead.
say,
Can't hear you.
the library has people come in and we assist them in making their appointments and if they needed transportation, and there has been help available in cities.
Okay. Amy, we're discussing, extending our vaccine incentive program. I don't know if you're aware of that, but we've been offered $200.
Yes.
Okay, and it's been, I think relatively successful. We're up to as many as 22 people now who either live or work here. And we've had a motion to extend it to the end of November, but Sandra has asked a question if there was any way that we could identify people that have impediments to getting to a vaccine. I know down in St. George, you ran a vaccine program down there. And I thought to myself, probably if anybody has medical issues or issues of that nature, that you might know more, you and your folks might know more about that than anybody, but I don't know. I mean, are you providing information or?
Yeah, actually, I was. Vaccine. There are home health agency parties. I can get you some info. There are agencies that are doing. Yeah.
Plus, you said you went
I
ambulance.
was doing, we haven't got another clinic going because there's so many right now. But when boosters come and others come, we'll be ordering another 100. But yes, there are people that are going in home.
And you, the service was actually doing.
Yeah,
it,
we were.
correct? You were, not
Yeah.
currently. Okay. So,
We are, community paramedic to do that, so if somebody does need it, get access.
So if somebody, cannot, I'm on work, they can make it. On their day off.
Well, there's walking clinics everywhere. So, I mean, if someone has a day off, they're walking at Walmart, any of them are open.
Every day.
7 days a week.
and that's why I thought the $200 again, if someone couldn't get off work without getting losing pay, that $200 would say, oh, I can do it. And I know with one person, that's exactly what happened. So, okay, I'm not sure we're ready to take on any more at this point, give us that, but thank you. Further discussion on this? All those in favor? Okay. We'll try to get the word out on that. Okay, update on CEO LPI recruitment process. This is going to be quick and easy. We have nothing, nothing at all. I don't know if anybody's thought about anything. The one thought that I came up with is, is there any interest in, and we want to let Kevin and his folks know, but is there any interest in advertising an assessors agent / CEO / LPI with a full-time job with benefits? A lot of towns have that model. And just see if we get anything. There's been some discussion about, that would put a person here. I mean, I think we'd have to add money to the budget. Terry ran me some quick numbers. If we provided, right now, with what we pay the assessors agent company and the CEO and LPI pay, these are just rough numbers, so we have to fight. It's like 47 grand. Insurance would be about 11,700. So that would leave like 34,000 for pay, and at 35 hours a week, that'd be about $20 an hour. I don't think that's enough, but if we could kick it to 25 or 26, maybe we could find somebody who would give us another person here. basically on a full-time basis. I don't know, I haven't looked at our contract with Kevin, if we're locked into that. But even if we were, we have to talk to him, I mean. Is it worth a shot?
Right now, anything's worth a shot. I do like that.
Yeah, the question is, should we tell Rob that we're doing?
Oh, I think definitely. Yeah, and then tell them that we,
And there's
basically,
Rob.
I think, we don't want to blindside them.
Right.
And also, I think we should tell them that it's unlikely we're gonna get it out. So don't give us up. But I don't think $20 an hour is gonna do it.
Well, that's what the CBO makes.
I mean, I just don't think you're gonna, we've had this discussion earlier tonight, we were trying to making that transition from volunteer to. I did talk with a few other folks, I talked with Terry Brackett about who does house ed, who does this, everybody's got full plates. And I just don't know what to do.
I think that's the next step. Give them a shot.
What rate of pay do we want? I personally think we gotta be north of 25 an hour.
Who has an assessor's agent? Do we know? Some of the town?
I think most of the towns around here have a 70 rate. The only one I know that has a single assessor is Brock.
Would we pay Burke?
Yeah. That was a long
No.
No, he was an employee. And the upside to that is, somebody who has an assessing question doesn't have to wait a week to get a meeting. The downside to that is Rob has, if someone's sick or out for a week, Rob has other people that can fill in, but. Huh? Yeah. And we got 34, 9, 30, 35, 15,000. You want to think about it? The next meeting?
Yeah, I'd be curious to find out.
Okay. All right. Okay, so Terry, you put that on the next agenda. Any of that? Okay. Are you folks here for the library discussion? Would you like us to take that up out of order? Or you don't care? You would? Okay. Okay, we can do that. Yeah. I didn't even think because Sandra, some of the applicants come all the time. Thinking. Not all the time. But. So.
And,
Pardon?
this hearing.
Yeah, I know. Hi, Ann.
Hi,
Hope you had a good time listening.
it was extremely interesting.
Okay. Also, we're gonna have, we have an item, and an update on Midcoast Internet Development Corp. So you might want to stick around for that.
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to take up out of order 7A, consider appointments at all every community center planning committee. So Terry, can you run over who we have and you have a list or are you just?
We have Paul Maggio, Irving Curtis, Marshall Turner, Ann Tusk, Sandy Wiseman, Maureen Spencer, Gabriel Thomasville, and Moira Pettit.
So that's how many people? Eight.
Eight. And only two were interested in the bundle.
Which two were that?
Sandy Wiseman and Maureen Spencer.
And so, what do we want to do here? How do we want to proceed? We did, correct me if I'm wrong, but I had a question. We did approve the charge for this committee at a few meetings back, did we not? That you drafted
Yeah, and that went out
went out to.
for the
It's on the
advertising.
website.
Yeah, it was on the website. And, I think that was a question you had, Ian.
Yes,
That it has approved. It's pretty much just based on the Article 10 that was
right.
made. Okay. So, we want to just open discussion on each applicant, or how do we want to handle this? I personally have some comments on a couple of the applicants. Paul DiMaggio indicates that he's interested in the committee, but he doesn't support the mission of the committee.
He's also not a resident.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me. But I'm not, I struggle pointing someone to a committee who doesn't support the mission of the committee.
And I think his latest letter, you know, I thought she's CEO, be good for fundraising. But his latest letter talked about the opening that he saw as a fan of renovation because of your, and so that's a non-starter for me.
Yeah, I struggle with someone. I know supports the mission. I'm not sure about Marsha. Does anybody know Marsha? Marsha Farrell?
I think you would have to ask her. I haven't seen her.
Do I know?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know
Well,
I know her.
is she involved in town affairs? Do you know her?
She's involved in the library.
Okay. So, and she doesn't indicate in her letter whether she supports the mission or not, if I'm correct.
I understand. I'm having such
Hate to, but go ahead. We have a much smaller crowd now. I know, it's just, it's an inconvenience, but it's better than,
It's my hearing, it's not.
better than getting COVID. But, I'm not clear whether she supports the mission.
Yeah, her letter was very brief.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I move that we appoint Irvin Curtis and Just, Gabriel Tomasulo, Moira Paddock, and Sandy Wiseman. And then we can discuss the others that we don't know as well, but those are people that I know are committed to the mission.
Well, Maureen is here,
Well, right, but
so I guess we can ask Maureen, do you support the mission of the committee?
Building a library?
Not renovate, but building a new, that seems to be a critical turning point here, so. With,
I'm not opposed to building a library. I'll tell you that right up front. I don't look at this as an either or. I can do both.
So,
I
guess,
I hesitate to say.
And you're running to you would like to be on the fundraising.
Well, it depends. I mean, I now don't quite understand exactly what you want us to do as a committee.
we
Well, yes, I understand.
and raise money to do it.
And as far as, how we're gonna group ourselves off and.
Well, we decided to split it into two subgroups. One subgroup dealing with building and design, and the other subgroup, without, dragging this on forever, the other subgroup, focusing on raising money and writing grants and the chair would serve on, for lack of a better word, on both of those subgroups, to put it simply. I guess what I don't want to see, I don't want to appoint people who want to revisit again what I spent a year and a half of my life doing. And others, Sandy and others spent, which was deciding. You're right.
Well.
So I guess,
I'm gonna do what I'm doing, and that's helping to move the library to school and to.
that's a whole different issue.
Right,
Yeah.
so I am gonna continue to do that, and if that's an issue for you,
That's not an issue, because that's part of the plan.
okay.
Yeah.
So if that's not an issue for you, I don't have an issue with building a new library.
Okay, that's good enough for me.
Okay.
Would you amend your motion?
I'm
Or,
just not.
hang on a minute, please,
Yes, I'll amend my motion.
to include Maureen.
Well, and I think we do want to point them to.
I agree. I'm gonna get to that, so.
the committees.
Yeah, and we also need to appoint a chair.
Right.
Okay, but I thought we could get the universe of who's appointed.
Except that we don't have it.
I know we don't. And then we can appoint them to the committees and then figure out to appoint a chair and then recruit for the vacant slot. That was my thought. All right, that's okay. Sandra, you got a question?
I'm not sure.
Well,
I
please,
thought it would be clear in the last couple of meetings where this has come up, that you wanted to appoint a committee that was wholeheartedly in favor of the mission of building a new library and raising money to do that. And did not want people who were divided. And let's go back and also think about renovating.
yes,
And
that's
I
it.
would like to be very clear that the people who get appointed to this are on that page. And if it turns out, perhaps in a meeting or two of the new committees, that somebody has slipped in who isn't exactly 100% in favor of working, I don't see this committee's energy divided that way.
Which is exactly why I'm asking these
Right.
questions.
Right,
Did you volunteer to be on
no,
No,
Okay.
no.
no, and I agree with you 100%. And I don't think the board ever voted on that. That was my personal feeling. I think Walter shares that very strongly with me. Jeff, maybe not quite as much, but
Not as strong.
not as strong, but.
There was-
Hang on one second. So I think that's what we're trying to do.
I was thinking-
Yes,
Clearly,
yeah,
but
and
I
I'm still
was
there,
very comforted to hear.
and I'm still there, and what Maureen just told me satisfied. Personally, it may not satisfy the other two, but we haven't voted, so. Penny,
Several meetings ago, it was suggested that I would be given a place on the building side of this as a non-voting participant.
well, you also didn't apply.
Because you said you only wanted people that only supported building.
That was just me personally.
I know, and that's what, and I
And
told at that time that the board had talked about putting me on that side of the committee as a non-voting participant.
well,
And I
Walter,
would like to see somebody on this committee that actually has experience in our library. So Maureen and Marcia are the most qualified in that direction.
well, and yes, and unfortunately, Marcia wasn't clear. She's not here, so we can't deal with her tonight, or at least I'm not doing it. I don't believe Walter is, unless somebody wants to call her. And I still have no issue at all with appointing you as an ex officio member. I think you need to participate in that. Absolutely. Did you include Ann in your motion?
I did.
Who did you include in your motion?
Yeah, can you go over that again, Walter?
Irvin, Ann, Gabe, Moira, Sandy, and then Maureen.
I just want to make sure I got everybody.
And
I don't
I,
know Marcia, and, just to, Sandra, Paul DiMaggio, I felt, in spite of how enthusiastic he was all along, I mean, he did the skunk work renovation plan, would have been of value, but the fact is that he wouldn't be all in. And therefore, that's why,
and
because he said as much in the letter.
right. He said, yeah, he was very upfront about that may be a reason you might not want to appoint me. So, so I didn't realize you included Gabe, so I'm gonna ask Gabe if you support the mission.
Of course.
You do.
I think, I mean,
And what I mean by that is not pursuing renovation, but pursuing a new building.
if that's the outcome that.
Okay,
that is voted
okay.
on,
I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure because, okay, can, sir, go ahead.
Can we discuss Irv as well?
We can discuss anybody you want. That's where I started out, and then Walt made the motion, but we can still, go ahead.
I'm not comfortable putting Irv.
For
Because,
other reasons.
yeah, because he's not here as frequently as I think he's gonna need to be. He's the chair of the planning board. He ended up having to quit the other committee because of his time concerns.
He's on the verge of retiring. I think this is his
That's-
last voyage, but we can talk to him about that. I understand your concern,
Yeah,
but
that makes a big difference. That doesn't.
Well, we could exclude him for tonight and then ask him if he's going to be able to commit to this.
I think that's the other thing is that you have to commit to not just long term, because I think for all of them, it's going to be a long term commitment, but also a frequency commitment. You got to be able to.
Yeah,
you got to
I
be able to
agree.
be here.
I also have concerns appointing Moira, because Moira, I feel, it doesn't support the mission in the sense that, to me, the mission includes the temporary relocation for 5 years. So I actually would prefer not to vote on these together, because I think we all have different reasons.
Yeah.
But that's Walter's motion.
I'll withdraw my motion
Okay,
and start.
I'm not trying to make this long.
I move that we appoint Sandy Wiseman to the committee.
To the fundraising stuff.
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor of appointing Sandy Weiss?
To the subcommittee.
To the committee and to the fundraising.
And the fundraising stuff.
I move that we appoint Gabriel Tomasula to the committee because to be the professional brains behind the building part of the committee.
We're appointing him to the facilities.
Right.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor? Somebody keep track of this, please. Go ahead, Walter.
I think
You're on a
we
roll.
should, we have some empty slots. What's Rebecca doing? Just planting a seed, Gabe.
And before we go on, we've just appointed 2 people, one to each of them. Are either of those individuals interested in being the chair? This is for my own personal.
I don't think I have the time.
Yeah, but I would do co-chair.
I would consider that.
Will you do a co-chair?
That's gonna complicate it.
Yeah,
That's too complicated then, probably not.
yeah, I was hoping to personally appoint Sandy as chair.
Yeah, I'm worried about it, just of my time, I would do a co-chair position.
That means we have to go back and revise our,
Right, see, because our vision,
our vision, Sandy, it was to have the chair sort of bridge between the 2 committees.
right,
And if you co-chair, then you're kind of,
beats that. And it almost forces us to go with either fewer or more. Because
I know what you're saying.
a subcommittee of 4 doesn't work real well, a subcommittee of 5 does.
It
And
feels
so if you
a
have,
lot.
you're right, it's gonna double your time. Double your time.
well, Yes, but I also see
Yeah.
one committee
Nobody
sort of
pays.
working, and then they kind of go dormant for a little bit, and then the other committee has, I think, so. Yeah. But,
Okay, well,
so Sandy, we just, this, I was hoping this would go a little more early. We just appointed you to the finance side. So are you saying that you would not accept the chair? So that's a no. Okay, so we're gonna have to, okay, so we got two on each committee and we do not have someone who's willing to serve as chair yet. No, one on each committee, yeah. Go ahead.
So I don't have your letter in front of me, and which of the two groups?
Oh,
You would-
definitely on the design and building part. I've led campaigns to do that in other communities.
And you're also a former librarian, correct?
And yeah, I mean, for libraries that I was managing, yes.
Okay,
I move that we appoint Ann Just to the facilities, to the committee, the big committee, and to the facilities committee. Subcommittee.
second.
discussion. And I have a question. Would you be willing to serve as chair?
Absolutely not. For one thing, I'm not a full-time resident.
Oh, that's fine. Okay. All right, further discussion? All those in favor? Go ahead, Walter.
I move that we appoint Moira Paddock to the committee, and I'm not sure which one she said.
I think it's facility.
Facility.
Discussion? I'm gonna vote against this because I don't think she's committed to the mission, and I think this needs to work both ways. And if I say she's not committed to the mission, she's not committed to the overall plan of having the library move temporarily into the current building. And she said that publicly, and she actually even made a motion at town meeting to tear the building down immediately. So I think she's drastically not committed to the mission, and I think it would be very disingenuous to rule people out on one side, if you will, and not the other. So I'm gonna vote against this.
The, seems to me though, that, that ship has sailed. We're moving into the, you know, that you can argue about it from here to heck and back, but it's a done deal. So why is that?
And it feels like a sense of fairness.
Oh, okay. I don't see it that way.
I know what you mean by the ship has sailed. There is a subtle difference there, or actually quite a difference, but that's the way I'm gonna vote.
Well,
Hang on, we're having deliberation between ourselves at this point, so Jeff, do you have any discussion? We got a motion on the table, so.
Yeah, I don't feel as hard, I don't feel it's as important because the ship has sailed, so. I do have reservations because she's on the budget committee and. But I'm gonna put her on.
Okay, do you have a brief comment?
Well, I was just gonna suggest that if you have thoughts about where she is on moving into the building, as you say, when she made that statement, it was on the table, and now that.
Yeah, Walter just made that
So you
point.
might want to ask her, where is she now about?
No, I'm going against it, so, but thank you. Okay, further, all those in favor? All those opposed? Walter?
I move that we appoint Urban Curtis, or did we decide that we're gonna have?
I'd like to.
Okay,
to-
all right,
I'm not gonna second.
Okay.
that.
I move that we appoint Maureen Spencer to the fundraising committee of this committee.
Discussion?
Yeah, now we're gonna go back to the mission, because I think Maureen has the same aura that Maura does on the opposite side.
My sense was what she just said is she supports the mission.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
She just said it.
No, no, what she said was, I have no problem with building a new building, and I want to hear that this is a 2 or 3 year commitment, so if you're not all in, and you just have no problem, I'm concerned about that.
I have no problem building the building.
I guess what Walter is getting at is, are you gonna approach this and come in and try to bring the renovation project, if you will, back up again? in front
Why
of
would
this
I do
committee?
that? This is a totally different committee.
Okay, that's what I heard.
Thank you.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor? Would you be interested in serving as chair?
Can I think about it?
Yeah.
The only reason I'm saying I'll think about it is just because of my health right now.
Yep. Yep.
And hopefully I'm on the, hopefully upswing and
Yeah.
if I feel better,
Yeah.
I'll take that on.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that the board would vote to do that. I'm just trying
Right.
to ascertain your
I'm
interest.
just letting you
Yeah,
know I-
yeah. Because I'm not sure we're gonna come up with someone to be chair tonight, so, yeah. Maybe we can have an interim chair. Just to get a meeting going. Go ahead. Well,
She knows she'll never get out of it if she.
That's
is.
we're gonna talk to Urban, and I think, I don't even know who Marcia is, and I'd like to know that.
Terry, could you contact Marcia?
Yeah.
And ask her to maybe attend the next meeting, or at least write us a letter indicating that she supports the mission and explain what that means to her. Okay. So I don't think we're gonna be able to convene this committee until the next meeting, but again, this is a long-term project, and hopefully we'll have do we want to appoint Penny as, what's the word you used?
Ex officio, non-voting.
Most member? I'm very much in favor of that. I think it's critical.
I think it is too. Support.
Is there a motion to that effect?
Yeah, so
Second,
Question?
to the facilities committee, right?
Can I have some words?
Well,
Okay, so I moved, or somebody moved, who moved? Okay, Jeff moved to appoint Penny Alley as an ex officio, non-voting member of the facilities subcommittee.
do you really mean the facility subcommittee or just the committee?
I think the committee.
I do too.
Just
Yeah.
bring about.
I think, Penny's aware of grants that are out there for libraries and I think, so is that your motion?
No.
Yes.
It's his motion, yes. I'm gonna vote against.
Will you second that, Walter?
No,
Okay, I'll second it. Further discussion?
I want to move to amend the motion.
Okay,
I move that, that Penny be appointed to the facilities subcommittee, but not to the fundraising committee.
Why?
Seems to be on loan.
Can I ask
Well, it's so not committed to the mission.
hang on a second. Do we have a second?
Yeah, we did. Not on it.
Do we have a second? Because we're not gonna discuss this, but there's no
There'll be
second.
no second, so there's no second.
Well,
so
it
there's
hasn't
no
been
amendment.
yet, so. You second it? And I don't get it. Okay, so we don't need to talk. So, discussion on the vote on the, further discussion on the original motion. None? All those in favor?
Yeah, I'm opposed to the original motion.
Okay,
Exactly the reason that I made the amendment.
okay, and you can vote against.
I will.
Okay, so all those in favor? All those opposed?
I'm opposed.
Okay. So is that it for tonight on this? Yes? We're good?
Thank you. No, that's good. I thought I had something from. that said-
We have 4 people in the facilities committee.
Right now, we've got 3.
Okay, because John Hanson had indicated to me that he would serve on this, but he didn't submit it. So I will call him and find out. My sense is he's changed his mind. But he did say that even if he didn't, he would certainly be willing to work with that committee as just a resident. Just an architect or anything like that, but just as to try to help out if they wanted. Okay. Where are we at? We've done,
Well, to just close the loop on this, right now. In the middle of September, we probably ought to go back out. And advertise.
Yeah,
for-
no, I agree.
additional.
Yeah.
And
you, who's gonna follow up with her?
I'll check with you.
Okay. And Terry, you're gonna follow up with Marsha?
Mhm.
And is there anybody else you need to follow up with here? Okay. So I think someone needs to write up what we did here and get it to the 5 members that we did, or 6 members that we did appoint. I would volunteer to do that. Under our efforts to improve communication. Okay. So jumping back, I think we're on 8, correct? Yes. I have not had a chance to meet with John Hanson. I said I would, and I just haven't had a chance. I will say that representative from Lowe's met with some representatives from the Historical Society, and I went down. It was on a Sunday afternoon. Trying to urge Lowe's to take this on as some sort of community project that they do. They were gonna report back to the Historical Society, and I haven't heard anything back yet. And so, as far as I know, that's where that's at this point. I don't know if something's gonna happen this winter or not, but Penny, if you're not in that loop, right? So,
Well, I'm an advisor to the chair of the committee that also spurred that. I haven't heard anything. So I
okay.
have continued to do research on the senior phase, the composite material senior phase, that I'm becoming more convinced is probably a better solution to re-shingling in wood, and something we have to paint again every 10 years or whatever.
And I am too. And I urge you all to go look at the red shingles on McDonald's over by, I know this sounds crazy, but I urge you to go over to the Thomas and McDonald's and look at the red vinyl shingles that are on the bottom part of the building. There's about 6 feet of them. I urge you to do that.
The one that's over by
By
Lowe's.
Thomas, yeah. I urge you to do that. You're gonna say, wow.
Did I continue?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were done.
No, I am, but I want to have more.
Oh, okay.
And that,
I apologize.
we were just looking at the Foundry brand of these, and they have a 50-year limited warranty as concerning governmental operation, which I assume we're gonna fall under. Otherwise, they give you a lifetime guarantee to the property owner. They are available in a russet red color.
Yeah, I looked at those. You sent me that link. Did you send it to everybody or?
No, just
Oh.
you.
The only thing that I thought was odd is it looked like it had a 10-inch exposure.
Well, because when I looked at the shingles, we had quite an exposure.
But I don't think it's anywhere near 10 inches.
Well, I would have to get a ruler and go.
Yeah.
But I mean, they have that in very regular, look like patterns, maybe a 5-inch
Mm.
or 4. I mean, they're narrow. But I using the price list, which went was pretty consistently around $300 per 100 square feet. One of the big size at a 12-inch or a 12-foot sidewall, which I'm not convinced that's how high it is. I'm just guessing without out there to hold up tape measure and measure that for you. That materials, and this is not taking out their windows and stuff, but I assume that would cover all the little pieces you would need to go with it. For that one side was 1,600
Just for the material, just for the shingle,
for the, yeah.
not
for the
labor,
side.
right, yeah.
And then for the gable end, it was, and this was, you know, just my rough calculations, not taking out for the door and windows, because I assume that would cover the lease and whatever, was 1,300. So we have people in town that have installed that I think could be convinced to volunteer their time and effort. And I also think if we're replacing window trim, we ought to be putting up the, is it AZAC? Zodiac, something, it's the manufactured wood that has the vinyl sort of feel to it that can be changed and it's hard, but we wouldn't, we want the light. And therefore, and that has an extremely good lifetime to it too. And I think if we could do, you know, a side at a time or 2 sides, that it would get us, it would take care of that building for all of our life. So.
Yeah, I would, go ahead, Walter.
Are they, are you looking at a drain plane under, because you're gonna take all the shingles off? An opportunity to put a drain plane, just the vertical ruts that, so the water comes in and then goes right to the ground. Just mention it, I guess, to whoever's doing your technical.
Well, yeah, I haven't gotten that far yet, but
Okay.
I do know of one contractor in town that has used this product. And I'd be happy to go and ask him about.
Yeah, I am, I'm concerned about the 11 inches or 10 inches to the weather. I think that would make that building look very, very different, but,
Well, we can go and measure, and I mean, they have several different varieties.
Yeah. yeah, I didn't, the only one I saw was the 11.
Yeah, well.
I didn't research.
It looks more like the staggered, or the shape than.
Yeah, and I didn't mind that look, but anyways. So I guess at this point, we'll do some more research. I'm gonna try to get to see John. Hopefully, maybe Lowe's will make a proposal too.
And I think for the Lowe's thing, kind of a formality, but I think we need to approve the, if Lowe's is willing to do it, we need to approve their donation.
Oh, yeah, it would have to come here. Oh, yeah, no, I told, the Historical Society folks were very excited about it and talking, and so, and they kind of arranged it to begin with the meeting, I guess. So I said, well, go ahead, you can talk with them, but eventually any decisions are gonna have to be made by the select. And that was very clear. Everybody understood that.
Well, I'm willing to make a motion that if Lowe's is willing to do it, that we accept their donation.
Well, I think that's
You wanna wait?
premature. Because we don't even have, it's not clear to me how it's gonna, what the details are gonna be. I think there's a lot more. It's not as simple, I don't think, as, you know, I think they're looking for the town to contribute some coordinator. I'm not sure what to do, to be honest with you. So I want to see what they're proposing. Okay, Walter, do you have an update on Midcoast Internet Development Corporation at all, or?
Not beyond what I sent out, done several mails. You know, they're focused on Rockport because Hotelco is targeting Camden and Thomaston, or Camden and Rockland. which is cream skimming in terms of subscribers. So the corporation is focused on that 700, whatever it was, the request they made of the county. So they're really focused on that. Now, we have our money now.
Yeah.
85,000. So I will contact Deborah or Matt tomorrow to find out how we engage with Axion. Because we can move forward on that now.
So this money is going to the Midcoast Internet Development Corporation, though, is it not, or is it going?
I think it's going directly to the consultancy. Axion.
really?
But I'll clarify that.
Because I remain concerned about compliance here, and I actually called MMA and DAS, Division of Administration and Financial Services, to find out if they had a template or something for contracts. Do you, is there a contract between, I assume you just don't hand over $20,000 or something. Do we have a?
I asked Matt,
And
what's the process for engaging? I haven't gotten
Okay.
response.
Because, you know, I'd like to, before we just write them a check, I'd like to see what that contract is, and I'm also concerned, the more I read about this, that have they complied with the bid requirement? First of all, I don't know if they're using ARP funds.
Well, I think, I think several of them.
I don't know that, I don't know.
Yeah, several of them said they were using it. Thomas said, for sure.
But there are bid requirements in those funds. I'm not sure exactly what those are. I've been trying to research it. So I'm not sure we can just hand it over to them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a valid concern. And I can tell you that what a lot of towns are doing and the counties doing is they're hiring, in most cases, a legal firm to oversee the administration of the funds.
Right.
And distribution.
Yeah. But with our limited amount of money, that seems.
Well, I don't know.
So anyway, MMA indicated that they would put, I said, is there a template or something? And I was speaking more towards subrecipients. I was thinking of Knox County, whatever the group is. But I think at a minimum, if we turn over money to anybody as a subrecipient, we need to say, at a minimum, that you need to comply with all the requirements of the ARP funds, and if you don't, you're gonna give it back.
Right.
Now, that doesn't work though, if we're giving the money directly to Axiom, because they're not a subrecipient, they're an actual contractor. I mean, if we were giving it to Midcoast Internet Development Corporation, they would be a subrecipient who would then contract with Axiom.
Right.
So I wasn't sure how that was gonna work, and you're not clear either, I take it.
I think we do want it to go through. We don't want it to go directly to the subcontractor because if the contract's already written, which I think it is, you can't impose the restrictions after the contract's been let.
Yeah. So, I mean, so I would prefer it to go to Midcoast Internet Development Corporation with the understanding that if they somehow or other didn't comply with this, then they owe it back to us.
Right.
They may not sign that, but there doesn't seem to be a lot of information out there.
I think that's why and it appears that there is now this booming business.
Yeah.
A legal
Yeah,
business.
I know.
Administering these funds.
There's money in poverty.
Yeah. There's now a legal specialist.
Sarbanes-Oxley created lots of revenue for a lot of accountants and law firms.
Okay, so we'll follow up on that. Update regarding temporary relocation to Guilford Butler School. Do we know if John has submitted?
John has submitted, he hasn't heard back.
Okay,
And he told me he would notify me as soon as he gets it back. Or even gets a word that it's being approved so that I can put in the.
so we have not filed a permit with the town's code officer yet.
Correct. Waiting for them to say yes.
Okay,
So I'm
and
saying-
Penny, do you have anything to add on where we're at?
Well, we're tackling.
Oh, spackling, yeah.
And, we have a professional who is willing to buy the paint for us. I mean, we would pay for it, she would use her discount. And she would let us use her equipment and also assist us in painting. So that's very exciting. I was approached by, the Muscle Ridge Historical Society, who is currently paying People's United Methodist Church to store their items in one of their unused classrooms in their lower level. And it has a lock, and they are able to get in and visit as needed. But it's expensive, and so they came to me and said, well, could we rent one of the classrooms to hold their items? I guess there are a couple pieces of furniture and a lot of photos and that kind of stuff. And I said, well, after meeting with the state fire marshal's office, it became clear that we needed to occupy all 5 rooms to prevent the need for second egresses, and I don't think they're looking for anywhere near that kind of space. And so they asked if there was space available in the basement and the lower level of Gilbert Butler School. And I said, well, it's there, but it's used for storage only. I don't think the select board would go for this, but I will bring it to the select board. So here I am with it.
So they want to, I mean, it's one thing if they just want to store it there. It's another thing if they want to store it there and then sort of access it from time to time
Well,
with
that's
the
what they need
public.
to do, so.
Yeah, I don't think we can do that.
Well, if it's not the public going in there, it's.
They're coming to take it out, to display it.
Right, to take it out. Yeah, I mean, that's storage. Oh, but. See, I think it will change if we're basically renting it to them, is that what we'd be doing?
But I mean, either we let them use it for free or they give us something. I think you were prepared to rent it, the garage area, but the Sharon Class organization.
As storage,
But,
yeah.
but certainly she would have had to done this meeting that.
Well, yeah, but that's storage, moving stuff in, moving it out. That's different than storing it and then setting it up for display purposes.
Not-
It has to be displayed there.
They take it away.
They take it away.
Yeah.
Okay, then that's a different kettle of fish.
I'm okay.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to
Would you
know.
like me to say that, have them come in to talk to the board?
Yeah, can't they just write up what they want? I mean, how many square feet they're looking for and what they're, I mean, and.
I don't know if they're just curious this about me, I didn't.
No, I mean, I think we got the word from the fire marshal officer that we could use it for storage.
Right.
As long as it's
But,
not
but
public
that's different than storing it and then the public comes in and looks at it.
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, okay.
No, they would want to access their
Yeah.
store.
Because you said that's what they're doing to people.
They are going in, putting more stuff in or taking stuff out, but they are letting other people.
Okay,
But it has to lock. They were very specific.
well, perhaps one of those back rooms could work down south. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, have them write up some
Okay.
sort of proposal and I have a question. Where are we at with the Little Red Schoolhouse lease discussions? I know that's not right on point, but that's.
Yeah, so that committee is meeting. They've met at least twice. Penny was at one of them.
When you say that
3 times.
committee, you mean the Historical Society?
Historical Society Committee is meeting right now to give their proposal to us. So I started them off, then they wanted to discuss it on their own. They have created I gave them one draft change to the lease agreement. And they have made some modifications to it. And I have seen that informally. I haven't seen it formally. They haven't presented it to me formally yet. They put one thing in there that is a non-starter. They said that if they right now, the way the lease reads is at the end of the lease period, or if they vacate it, we're no longer a historic society, then they can take anything that's not nailed down, but anything that remains becomes property of the town, which would include the building. And they said, the town would pay fair market value for the building at the time they vacate.
So-
and that's a non-starter. And it doesn't go to point. The
Right.
point is, what are we gonna do with the Little Red School?
So they're sort of trying to take our approach to reopen this lease to totally reopen it?
Yeah.
I'm not, I mean, that wasn't what I was.
No, I was, no. So, and most of the other stuff though, that they were putting in there, I agree with, and basically, I think I sent you the notes on it.
No, I didn't see it. Did you want one?
Right after the meeting?
No? Did you?
No. Oh, okay. Oh, well.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
But, I mean, some of the issues are, the way the lease is kind of awkward in some areas. And so this is an opportunity to clean some of that up, but, the interior, all the costs for the interior of both buildings would be borne by the Historical Society. The cost for big things that facilitate like heat and water and stuff like that would be shared, for maintenance on those. The cost for exterior of the building would be the town's, which it currently is.
Of the red bill.
Of-
No, it's not their bill.
Well, yes, when I say exterior, I was actually talking about landscaping.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, the parking lot. And all. But yeah, so that on their building, the exterior is theirs. On the red building, it's ours. I think that's how it is. The only part that they haven't put in there is a clause about us being able to move back in at some point for a temporary time period. So,
Well, yeah, I'd like to see the notes because I mean, quite frankly, I mean, if they're gonna be too demanding here.
I didn't see them as too, other than that one clause. That's the
Okay.
only place where I saw them overstep the line.
Okay.
And I think that might have been just a test of the law.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we can continue to build. I mean, you know, not that anxious though. All right, anything else on the temporary move? Okay, we've talked about the permit. ARP funds, I think we pretty much covered that when we talked about NIDC, unless somebody else has. Oh, the one thing we did want to talk about. Town meeting approval.
Yeah.
We have that clause.
Article 31
Yeah.
seems to get us out of that.
I'm comfortable with it.
I am too.
MMA has indicated that they feel that it needs town meeting approval. They haven't really sort of specified at what level.
Right.
I mean, is it like every 20 cents or is it just in general? I'm comfortable with it too. I mean,
I'm absolutely.
And Thomaston, they don't have an equivalent of our Article 31 in their last warrant,
Mhm.
which is why they're gonna do it, town meeting.
Yeah, that was mine.
Yeah. Okay. We find out something to the contrary, we can revisit.
Although we may have set a precedent. Because we did have it on the warrant, to authorize the expenditure of $5,000.
Yeah, but we may have,
But that,
I think that was more approval of just going down the broadband.
yes,
In my mind,
yeah,
than the source. I think we might have done it even without the ARP fund.
right. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, that the intent was to approve us going down the broadband,
Study,
not
so,
to,
yeah.
not to approve expenditure of the ARP funds.
Well, did you have anything to add?
Yeah,
Skate park?
well, I have something to add about the warrant.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
And I have the old, the not quite final. When we did the request for the $5,000, did we specify Axiom? Or did we say feasibility study?
I don't recall. I don't have a town report in front of me.
It wasn't in the town report. No, because it came late.
Yeah,
They were late.
I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer the question. Is that,
It's Article 36, to see if the town will authorize the select board to spend $5,000 in federal American Rescue Plan Fund to jointly conduct with the charter municipalities of Camden and Rockport and other municipalities a feasibility study of the Internet Development Corporation. Okay,
so is that,
it said partner with them.
okay.
We didn't specify Axiom.
Okay.
Whatever. Okay, so next steps, the almost Olympian skateboard expert that looked at the photos said it's a really nice park. But you need to tear up all those warped boards and replace them, and you'll probably find some rot on the superstructure. So I think the next steps are to get some professionals in to assess and estimate and budget for it, because the season's starting to dwindle anyway.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. Okay. Well, good luck finding anybody to do anything, but.
I just
Oh, sorry.
in regards to skate park, and I'm not up on everything you guys are doing, but has anyone looked into Tony Hawk organization? And I'm not a skateboarder, but I've heard Tony Hawk is a skateboard guru. And he actually donates, it's like a grant process. He's built them out in California and around the US to small towns. I'm not sure what the right actual criteria is, but he will build them. Like I said, I saw it somewhere and I thought of it a while back, but I never said anything. And I'm just trying to, that avenue to look into, that Tony Hawk is the name. I can tell you that much. What the actual foundation name is, I'm not positive on it, but something to look into, that maybe there's a way to get. He's built them for towns and cities, places that have the need for it or want one. To get the, like what we're doing now, we're trying to keep the kids active and doing what they're doing, so. But just a thought.
Would you Google?
I will.
Okay. Thank you. We've already dealt with N, new business, we dealt with abatement requests. We have an abatement request from Michelle Casa. Map 11, lot 13-2, account 1105. If I can lay my hands on this late at night, I'm gonna be shocked. How many people are here? No? I got it. Wow. This is from Jay, Justice Agent. After review of the property adjustments were made to bring assessed value more in line with similar properties, recommend abatement for amount above. Amount of abatement requested. So he's looking to adjust the value from 441 to 356. Boy, I feel I need more information than what we have here for that.
Going the opposite direction of all the stuff in the state evaluation.
I mean, it's not like, usually their, garage was torn down March 20th or something, I can't vote on this with that limited amount of information.
And is it timely? Don't these requests have to be
180 days from commitment. Is this year's taxes?
Mhm.
Yeah. So, I gotta have a lot more information than this.
Yeah, because right now, especially in here somewhere, we also have a copy of the new state valuation.
Yeah, and everything's going the other
And everyone
way.
is going up. So it may be that this property is assessed correctly and the ones around him are not. Which is why you don't chase, typically you don't chase those, so I need more.
I need a lot more. Is there a motion to table it?
I so move.
Second.
Further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Mhm.
This is like my annual question. What is the ratio that triggers a rebound? You tell me every year and I get it.
I think it's
80% of,
well, it's,
what?
It's state valuation.
yes, so it's state valuation divided by our valuation. Or maybe vice versa.
So it's Kevin numbers that he comes up with in April. And then the
Versus what the
states
state-
that they just came up with, okay. thanks.
They take and the state equalizes them, if you will, across the state. But again, they're not
Still
gonna,
don't even have.
they're not gonna come down here with a shotgun and force you to do it. I mean,
Right.
what's more important is that everybody's treated equally unfair.
And the only time that you really start thinking about it is if they start decreasing your homestead exemption dollars because of that ratio.
That's their stick.
Or they
Tree growth.
decrease tree growth, homestead exemption and veterans.
Yeah.
They'll ratchet, once it hits a certain point, they'll start ratcheting down how much they give you based on that percent.
So that was what happened to you guys in 2006.
Yeah, and it dragged on a long time.
Yeah. And they never came down and said we had to do it. Now, it just became critical to us to do it, otherwise.
It became extremely, I mean, the waterfront property was way undervalued compared to the, say, the Grierson Road or whatever. So don't look forward to that.
I'm not looking forward to it. That's what
Actually, I was hoping when we get the correspondence to put those two reports on the next agenda. I'd like a little time to look at them.
Yes, yeah.
So,
I perused them, but
yeah, but you don't need to put that in the show. We can deal with that in the correspondence, but. So,
So we have to
did we
vote
vote
on
on the table? I can't remember.
Yeah.
Okay. So will you convey that to Kevin or Jay that
Kevin will be here Thursday.
we need a little much bigger explanation than that? Okay, try to wrap this up as quick as we can here. We need to sign the minutes of the officer's return of notice posted with a public hearing on the local option vote. Is there a motion to execute that document?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor? You have it there, Terry?
Yeah, there's a whole, I got a whole pile of stuff you guys.
All right, okay. We got a price back from the survey company that did the survey down in Pleasant Beach on the right of way, the actual property line. And Jerry had asked him to replace the pins, and I had asked Terry to get a price before he did it. And I was thinking it was gonna be, $300 or $400.
yeah, I was a little surprised.
And this is $1,500 for something that's not budgeted. I know in the past, we've had issues down there, and it's been very important for the town to have a good sense of where the right of way is because it's access to the water. I think things have changed down there. I met with Mr. Jasper's daughter the other day regarding moving the rocks and coming up with a proposal for us to consider granting an easement for their septic lines. Very cooperative, very wants to do everything by the book. I don't know how critical these pins are. I mean, most of our roads, we don't have pinned every 30 feet. I think this was brought up, this was done for a particular reason. And in response to a particular property owner who was debating or, whether the town even had access there, if I recall. So I don't know that we need to spend the $1,500, but I agree. I mean, we have have the plan. Terry has a copy of it. We have the plan, the survey plan. We know where the line is, at least on paper. It's just not physically monumented on the face of the earth. So I guess if no one wants to spend this money, we don't need to do anything.
I agree.
And even Jerry said, whoa, $1,500. Because he was the one that really wanted to see them put back. So I think if things change, we could always revisit this. If the level of cooperation or something deteriorates, but my sense is it's not gonna. Okay. Correspondence, we had a bunch of correspondence come in. One was the email from Irv that he
Well, do you
spoke.
want to do Brian's exhaust
Oh,
system?
yes. Brian, I forgot all about you.
What else?
Huh?
In his
Well,
defense, the iPad is right in the middle of.
Well, not only that, you weren't on the agenda. We added it, we didn't even add it as an adjustment when we.
Yeah, yeah, we do. That was a long time ago.
I know, I'm sorry, Brian. I hope I didn't, we could have taken you
I
out.
saw where I was on the list, looked like I was like last in line before adjourn.
We could have taken you out of order. My apologies. I truly did. So you wanted to talk to us about fire truck prices.
Yeah. And from this morning, which would have been last night when I noted about it to. Well, now it's been 5 hours, but 5 hours ago. So last night we sat down, truck committee, had the truck company come in that would go with. When and if we buy a truck, and we had some good numbers, there was a chance of I was gonna come and smooth you and say, hey, we need to order this truck before November to get a cheaper price. But I'm not gonna do that, Walter. It's okay. Because I was informed today at 4 o'clock that you cannot buy a new fire truck right now. They are not making them. So if your order is in, you're good. If your order isn't, they're not doing it. No manpower, no material.
Okay.
So that's kind of, we're status quo. We're just gonna miss out. Basically, what I was gonna tell you is that right now we could buy a truck before November 1st for $380,000. Come November 1st, we're looking at $440,000. Now, because of this hiccup, who knows where the price is gonna go? And this is all before any emissions test, which we have not seen one in 10 years. So our goal that we were shooting for in the reserve, probably not gonna happen when it's time to do this.
Well, we need to think about that at budget time.
Yeah.
Walter?
Didn't the last one cost $450?
$350, because we nickel and dimed it to make sure we kept it
Okay,
low as
all right.
possible.
Well, you probably wouldn't have gotten the board to spend a 400, whatever it was tonight anyways.
Oh, no,
You know, he was gonna go the other way.
No, I was going to 380, even though I don't.
No, I know, but even 380, I'm not sure we would have
Well,
approved
it's
that.
all sitting in the reserve account. That's the my only
Yeah.
saving grace right now. But that's that topic right there, update. Another issue, which we can discuss at a later date, just it's happening no matter what. Tank truck, you know, that lovely one that broke down. It's in Brunswick for a yearly maintenance. And I'm at an estimated approximate ballpark number of we're at $10,000 right now to fix it. Just to keep it in service.
What's wrong with it now?
What is it wrong with it right now?
And this is the one that.
This is the one that's 29 years old. It's the next one to go.
This is the one that the new one will replace.
Yeah. So that's some bad news, but I mean, I sent the 2003 truck, that's already come and gone. That was $7,000 for that truck this year. I know Walter's probably looking at budget numbers right now, but I have not sent the new truck yet, and it's next to go, and it's gotta go. I've talked to Terry a little bit on the budget aspect. Once the trucks are done, I will get with Terry and see where I'm at budget wise and see what I can do to go forward with whatever else was in the budget. But as much as I don't want to do it, because I've fought for it for the last 2 years, as Jeff will know and Walter will know, the air packs are in the budget, but I might not be getting air packs this year because I gotta on this fire truck money. Which brings me to another question, in regards to the budget. Which is kind of, I think, why I'm here, is to talk about the exhaust system, but you guys put money in the budget, get the exhaust system, but we also put money in my budget for the match money if we got the FEMA grant, which we all know I did. Where's this money? Is this sitting inside of my budget?
Well, I thought they were the same cost, were they
I
not?
think they were. We didn't do them.
I thought we budgeted so much
Okay,
towards the exhaust system with the understanding that if you got the grant, we wouldn't need all of that, but we would need, but I could be wrong.
That's basically how.
I think we didn't budget under debt service for this first year, right?
No, but the debt service was the out years.
Correct. Right. Harry, you must.
I'm sorry. I would have had thought of it late this afternoon.
John, at 9:15, I don't know a whole lot. I'm sorry, my brain's not there.
Yeah,
I'm up with the wrong-
That is, I don't need an answer tonight, I got thinking about it this afternoon, and I usually try to ask those questions up very prior to. But just trying to pull a rabbit out of my hat to try and help the budget with this issue with the trucks. So, but it's years back, I put in a certain amount for maintenance and a certain amount of pumps. And I walked away from it for the last couple of years, and we've kind of got bit and we kind of haven't. This year we got bit, and next year I'm going back to those numbers because it just gives me that hate or umbrella of these situations.
Yeah, there was 15 grand budgeted. For exhaust system, non-grant.
Yep.
And
Is that
then,
in my budget or someone else?
no, it's in yours. And then there was 32,000 for air packs.
Yep. I'm not sure, I just wasn't sure where that money for the exhaust was, if it was in me or if it was somewhere else.
It's in yours. I thought it was a larger number.
I thought it was 18.
That's good.
Well, no, because I think there's another place
Yeah,
where there was 3,000,
That's the
Yeah.
max money.
So it's
which was, yes, there was a. And that way with the 18, either way you went, you ended up spending.
It was 54,000 for the total, so 18 was the year one.
Yeah, there's another 3,000 in there somewhere.
But I have a portion. What do you think is in your reserve?
Yes, you're right, there is. There's another 3,000. Sorry.
What do you mean what I think's in my reserve? I honestly don't know because it's a big question mark how that was all gonna play out. I remember what I was told when I was asked how it would play out, and I'm not sure if it really worked.
I thought
You
you two worked that out.
The fire truck?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking
Yeah,
about? Yeah, we did. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, we
By the time it comes time to do a fire truck, I would.
I can't remember the numbers that I
Neither
told
can
you,
I.
Brian.
By the time we go to do this truck, which would be the 22-23 theoretically budget. All the repayment,
you will have been paid back.
right,
Right.
and the amount of money should be around 400,000, maybe 450 total.
Assuming contributions
Correct.
in future years.
Right.
Yeah.
So theoretically, the plan on the reserve account should work, but things are becoming out of our control. So that's that. And then my other thing on the
Can I
reason,
just follow up?
Yes, sir.
So does that jive with yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
my other reason why I'm here is, I sent out an email. The exhaust system, okay, we've been approved for it. I've done dotted my i's, crossed my t's. I've handed 90% of the paperwork over to Terry as well, so she has a copy, I have a copy. I'm ready, I've been given the blessing from FEMA that ordering. So that's why I asked in an email, are we good to go? And I followed town policy on the RFP, anything over 200, you have with what we're going for, there's only two companies that do vehicle exhaust systems in the fire world. And originally I only had one, but then when Steven said I had to have two, I called the other company. And I've picked the one that I want to go with, that works. I've done my own research with the other departments. Luckily, a couple departments have one version in this county, and the other ones have the other version. And there's pros and cons and this and that, and I am not up on all this exhaust stuff. And the first company I set all my numbers on, that's who I was gonna go with, because that's what everyone was saying. I had this other lady that drove from Buffalo in one day to here to meet me. Crazy lady, but she turned around and went back the same day. I understood exactly what she was talking about, and it comes with a 10-year warranty. The other one doesn't. And this system is maintenance free. And it's been proven it's maintenance free. So the one that I was dead set on has a maintenance plan with it, and they're all about getting more money out of us after the whole thing's done. Rockland has this system, it's called the MagnaGrip. Rockland's had it for over 15 years. MagnaGrip has never come to maintain it because there's never been a problem with it. Event's the other one, and there's been numerous problems, and they always try to sneak in this maintenance deal, which I never knew about until I fully read it and found it in there, and the salesman still denies that it's sitting in the bid. So he's lost all my.
So is there a price difference on them?
Yeah, it breaks with me. It's a little bit higher on the MagnaGrip, not by much. And I want to say it's still in the grant money. I'm not over that at all, and it includes our the electrician to come in and do the work. They'll take care of it. I just tell them which electrician I want to have come in.
That was gonna be my next question.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, you need an electrician, that's gonna cost you.
And we didn't.
I think there's a guy in town who put in the last one.
Here?
Yeah,
We're not gonna have.
No.
Yeah.
All right, so are we, Harry, are you all set with this? Were you all set with this? We've complied with the procurement requirements of the grant and.
The way I read it, we have.
For FEMA we have. I went straight with them. With the Zoom meeting, we both sat in, I made it to the meeting and I sat through it. And I sent the environmental protection. Environmental plans we had to submit. They've all been, blessed. Somehow, I'm not tech savvy, but she enjoyed every picture I sent her. But I've gotten their blessing, which is what we were waiting on. And FEMA says they gave you a blessing, you're good to go. I checked with Terry and we order it. And then once the bill shows up, then it goes on to Terry on the finance aspects.
Okay, and the reason that I was reluctant to say that you did or didn't need selectmen's approval is because it was unclear to me whether this truly was budgeted. We budgeted for a portion of it. Plus, it's a huge expenditure, and I just felt that we should at least have a discussion about it.
That's fine.
I don't know that we actually need to vote on it. I don't think it would hurt if we did.
I don't think it will hurt, but I don't want to set a precedence because I do think this was a budgeted item. And as long as the policy was followed, that he should be able to expend the funds.
Well, but some of the first year was budgeted.
Right.
Well, the cost share, the 5% that we have to pay of this whole thing is in my budget. It was in there.
Yes.
Right.
So,
Yeah. So I'm good either way. I mean, I don't think we set a precedent by personally by approving this.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to authorize the chief and the administrator to purchase and have installed the equipment.
Can we say the exhaust system?
Exhaust.
And what's the company name?
vehicle exhaust system.
Vehicle exhaust system.
MagnaGrip, MAGNA grip is the company I'm going to go with.
Hoorah.
Discussion? Welcome.
So I'll second it, so we get to
Oh,
discuss
I'm
it.
sorry. Yeah, second.
What I just heard was that on the one hand, we budgeted, so he should be, he's done everything that he should do, so why are we sticking our fingers into it? I
Well,
mean,
because it
Because it was a 54th, because we were gonna do debt service, is my rationale.
Well, my rationale is that the way we budgeted was, we budgeted two ways. And so this clarifies and he's authorized to accept.
Okay. I can go with that.
Okay. All those in favor? Go for it. Been years.
Yeah, well, it might be another year before we get it.
Yeah, it's probably on a container ship.
It'll be ordered tomorrow morning and might be here by the summer.
And Brian, I
Probably
will,
needs chips coming from the plant that burned down in Japan.
I
This is
will-
actually a complete micrograph to USA.
I will try to make sure you're CC'd on just about anything that I think relates to anything. I guess. Yeah, okay, leave it at that.
And I'm trying, the email thing. I'm trying.
Yeah, we got it.
Kind of had 15 years using one thing.
Okay.
But thank you all.
Correspondence, we had a bunch of correspondence and then I mentioned hers. We had this St. George study. Terry, can you said there was a cover transmittal email over this and there's some more information in that?
I forwarded you the email that came with it.
You did?
Yeah, I went to Terry as well,
Mhm.
but not to Theo.
Okay.
I can send.
So
it to
I
you.
don't, can you just summarize it? I mean, John Fancy wants to meet with us, is that the?
Yes, he really would like to meet with the board, and
Okay.
Terry Brackett said he would like to also meet.
Okay.
And discuss.
Can we try to put it on the next agenda and ask Theo as chair of the Conservation
Yeah.
Commission if she could also attend?
Yeah.
Because maybe they can play a role in this under John's, not under John's supervision, but. That's agreeable with folks? Okay. And then we had the two valuation, the overall valuation proposal and ours. Can we put those on the next agenda as well, Terry?
Mhm.
And we had the, I mentioned a letter from Herb, we had a letter from Sue Snow, an email, which I think everybody read. I will say I disagree with her on the shoulders. There are 3-foot shoulders at least, almost entirely for that. They are grass up. We've mowed them twice this year, but it's just rained like crazy and then grass just keeps growing and the bushes definitely need to be cut back. It's bad, but it isn't just on Island Road.
Yeah, so this is just like we had Dublin Road, that.
Yeah.
It's part of a bigger issue. At
It
the
is.
end, we can't just knee-jerk react to everybody who says, oh, I need my trees cut. We've got to figure out a way to do this systematically.
Yeah. We need,
Budget.
we really need, in my opinion, our roads need major attention. I mean, they need ditching, shoulder and trimming, and paving. We really need we need a capital plan to attack it. And I'm to the point where I think we need a bond issue first to catch up much. But anyways, yeah,
We just had, I think it's Lucas tree go all over the place, cutting down by the wire.
Yeah.
I assume that's being heated.
Yeah.
For that.
yeah. Thank God for the wires.
But they got chippers there, they got the truck there, the whole bit. Is there any way, and they come every couple of years or whatever, every year. Is there any way we could team up and have them do the brush at the same time they're fast, they're efficient, they speed through in no time. It doesn't seem like adding 5 feet of stuff relevant there would add that much to the time like the effort.
I think that makes perfect sense, but my suspicion is dealing with CMP on that would be like dealing with the US Congress.
I know, but I mean, there's gotta be some way we can.
Well, I think we, again, but it isn't just that. We need ditching and shouldering and but we need to prepare a budget next year that at least begins to attack something. I really think we need, I mean, I'm concerned on Hayden Point Road, even on the end of that, some of the overhead trees here, if we get a heavy snowstorm, they're gonna be in the road. They're just gonna bend right down in the road. And this is expensive stuff. You said you got a proposal a couple of years ago
From Matt Benner, $47,000.
for Westbrook Street, just the trim.
Yep.
And this is not cheap stuff. I did speak to Tim Hawkey, who has a tree service, as you know. He said he'd be willing to give us a proposal. We can get one from Lucas. My sense is they're gonna be the most expensive, but I could be wrong about that. But I think it's something we need to really work on for next year's budget. We're not gonna solve it tonight, but I agree with you. And paving is probably going crazy given the price of oil at this point. So I responded to Sue as best I could. Personally, if everybody else wants to respond to her, feel free. I try to always make it clear that I'm responding for myself and not the board. And I actually have been lopping off branches on that one when I go for a walk. So, and I don't know if you noticed, but I have made some progress.
I know there's people doing that on Dublin too.
Yeah, and I did,
Overwork.
and I did Stump Dump Road, and that made a huge difference. I did that with my chainsaw because there's no traffic.
That bird pile looking big.
Yeah, again. It really grew back quickly, which is surprising this time of year. Okay. Was there other correspondence or did I cover everything? Anybody remember?
I think you got it all.
Unfortunately, that all came in after you.
I know.
Okay. I think that was it. Warrants. Pass those around.
Oh, sorry, Walter.
Review items for next agenda. So Terry, did you keep a list for next agenda? You just quickly read it back. Well, I saw you jotting them down on the paper. That's why I was asking.
Oh, those are my notes of other stuff, but no, I do, let me finish this. Sorry, I'm not thinking. right.
I'm not
My
either.
brain is
I'm not
misfiring. This is late.
Well, some of these are gonna be standing items.
Okay. We had, review, John Fancy and Theo for the.
Yeah.
The St. George River.
And Terry, hopefully. We had evaluation issue.
The abatement.
Yes, the abatement, right? And we're gonna deal with the appointments to the committee again, the library committee. We'll hopefully have that on again. Right?
Yep.
I think we need to keep going on the Little Red Schoolhouse, Midcoast Internet, and Guilford Butler relocation. Can I jump around a little bit? I did hear back from one of the other daycare. Very interested in participating or talking with us, particularly when it comes to premium pay for their employees that work through the COVID, which makes me very happy because those are the people that I think really stuck their necks out there, so to speak. So more to follow on that. Any sense on when we might hear from the county on our, should have asked Dorothy, on our proposals?
But I can give you a feel.
And the reason I ask is because I would like to move ahead. If we're not gonna get the premium pay for our employees, I would like us to move ahead with our funds on that.
And do it before the holidays.
Yes, exactly.
And I impressed to them that one of our requests was specifically time sensitive, the 35,000. Because we needed to know by December, because that was not. But they talked a lot about what their thoughts were. They haven't finalized any of it. But it was pretty clear that people who asked for, there are only 2 towns that asked for incentive pay. And they said, if we do it, we'll do it for everybody, not just for those 2 towns, and we think that that's.
And quite frankly, I agree.
So I think that's their sense, so
Yeah.
I think it's probably gonna be on us to do. this.
Yeah. I tend to agree, and I understand Thomas has already moved down that road. Although they only did it for their, as I understand it, for certain employees.
Yeah.
But I tend to agree with them. I mean,
I also think they're not gonna give a single penny to the cable for the
broadband,
And their argument was, this is the state is now moving ahead with that. There's additional federal funds dedicated to that. And so they didn't vote on it, they didn't finalize it, but when the 3 of them, and basically it was just 2 of them talking, they were all agreeing on their what they thought were priorities. It was pretty clear what their low priorities.
well, I've heard, I won't give the source, but the county administrator has actually been quoted as saying, I wish we never got this damn money.
Wouldn't that surprise?
And really,
Yeah, because it
bothers me. You know, here you got an offer, you know. But,
it has complicated his life.
you know, and then also there was a proposal to hire someone for the county to administer, and he rejected that idea. As I
I
understand.
don't think so.
Well, initially it was not very
Well,
receptive.
Here's what he rejected. His idea and the treasurer's idea was to contract with a legal service that is doing it for other counties and towns. To do it for them, contract. There was one of the commissioners who thought maybe it'd be a good idea now to hire a person to do that. And to hire somebody who could then also be a planner to replace the debacle they got us into with
Okay.
McCann. So it was a saving grace.
Okay,
We also were gonna add audio, because.
yeah,
Come
yeah,
back.
audio. And I think a lot of these we're gonna keep running as we go, but I just want to get a sense of follow-up and stuff, so. All right, review, schedule future meetings. We're scheduled through November,
Yes,
November 30th.
pardon?
The clock runs out on November 30th.
Yeah, and I don't have anything. For some reason, I don't have. The 2nd November meeting on my calendar.
it's the 30th.
It's the 30th.
16th and the 30th.
Oh, I do, okay. Maybe it was the 2nd October meeting. Yeah, that's it.
26th, 12th and 26th in October.
Yeah, 12/26.
All right, actually, I don't have either one of those. That's the problem. But I'm good with those. Okay. Do we want to just schedule December or?
So 14/28 would be the normal.
If I may, Terry, work for you, Walter?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's on the 28th of December.
Hmm?
Did you say the 28th of December?
That's what somebody said.
Yeah.
Why is that?
You gotta get that out
Why, what's the matter with the 28th?
of December.
Yeah.
Between Christmas and New Year's.
Oh, you won't be in town? Okay.
That's,
Well,
that's normally the week.
okay. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Oh, God, that was a long meeting. lot going on. I don't know, give them stuff I sent earlier. Can I pass it back to you?
Please, Terry, you made John so happy that he didn't even come to the meeting.
Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Well, I'm hoping.
I was really surprised. I thought it'd be here.
Well,